In Burlington, Philadelphia, a Beasley Media Group station. Official home of the Sixers, Flyers, Union, and the best Eagles talk in Philadelphia. 97.5, The Fanatic.
Good morning. Thought I'd help you wake up.
It's 6 a.m. and you're listening to The John Kincade Show, Philadelphia's longest-running sports talk morning show on 97.5 The Fanatic, Philadelphia.
Let the party begin!
The show starts now.
Yes, it does. The fun does start right now. Welcome to the John Kincade Show here, 97.5 The Fanatic. Bob Cooney filling in for John today as he takes a day of relaxation. We got the great Connor Thomas with us today, along with Pat Egan. We're going to have some fun here over the next 4 hours. Good times in Philadelphia sports. I was out at the Sixers game last night also. More good times there. We were just, before we came on air, the seconds before we came on air, we were judging whether Connor's shorts were too short. That's why the laughter as we started. Pat and I overruled you, Connor. Your shorts are just too short. How are you, buddy? How things?
I didn't miss that. No one critiques my outfit when I'm in here
you
later
asked,
on at
we
night.
told you.
All right. No,
Yeah.
I'm great, man. I'm great. How could you not be? The Eagles beat the Cowboys. The Sixers are giving us something to be positive about when it comes to the basketball in this city. And I don't know how you could be in a better spot right now when you look at those two teams.
Yeah, it's a fun time. Eagles. It's funny. Our first subject, I'll get into in a minute. I mean, it's still a very good talking point because people just don't know how to handle this right now in a lot of ways. Sixers going well. You had college basketball open yesterday. I got a text from my son at like 1 o'clock saying, don't forget, South Carolina women, Notre Dame women are on ESPN right now playing from Paris. I was like, oh, okay. I didn't watch it because I was trying to take a nap or whatever. Or I actually had an appointment. Then I tried to take a nap. But, yeah, it's a great time of the year. Pat, good time of the year? Great time of the year? Sports-wise, best time of the year? What is it?
No, best time of the year is October, like start of October.
All right.
You get I'll go middle of October. You're getting NBA starting up, hockey started up, Major League Baseball's in the playoffs, and the NFL, you kind of have weeded out if you're good or not. This year, this time of the year, though, is good, but, I mean, that's the only time where you've got, like, all four sports playing at once.
Is it kind of a come down a little bit after that great October run, or you're just
I'm still
high?
No, I'm still kind of coming.
Are you still high, Pat?
No, I'm not, Bob.
Okay.
I'm not. Are you done?
Yes.
Thank you. My mother listens to this. No, it's a little bit of a come down. I'm probably going to come out of it like next week or so. I mean, yeah, the Sixers have played 6 games and they've looked good, but the reality is they lost the one test. That was game 1. And then we'll find out how good they are on Wednesday.
Yeah, Wednesday got Boston coming in. Nice way to start the season with a little bit of a home, I guess, stretch here where you had like 4 or 5 games. You get to settle in as the season starts, get to know each other, all of that stuff. We'll get into some Sixers talk a little bit later. But it was funny. Last night I go to the Eagles game, or the Sixers game. I went with my daughter, and somebody comes up and says hi, and the first question they ask, so what's up with these Eagles? And I like going through my head, my mind just started spinning. What's up with these Eagles? They're 8-1. Like, where do you want to go? What do you I don't know how to answer. So I actually said to the guy, I go, I don't know how to answer your question. What do you mean? Are you upset with how they are? He goes, well, you got to admit, they don't look as good as they should. And I said, yeah, you're right, but they're 8-1. He goes, yeah, I know. It's the overriding thing, but, and I'm like, why is there a but? Like, what, now, where are you, Connor? We've talked about this endlessly on the morning show. Where are you with this Eagles team right now?
I couldn't be happier. I really couldn't. Even if they were blowing teams out, like I legitimately could not be happier with this team. They've got 8 wins out of 9 opportunities. They're going into the bye week. Hopefully they get healthier, but they've beaten some good teams. Miami's a solid team. I know how they play against teams over 500, but that's a solid football team. The Cowboys are a solid football team, and you've taken care of business against every other team besides a weird week against the Jets, which the defense looked really good. You don't have to blow every team out, okay? Last year, I think we got caught up in the They ran through the schedule, and then they smoked the Giants, and then they smoked the 49ers in the NFC Championship game. And it's like, oh, okay, well, great teams are supposed to run up the score against everybody. No, great teams are supposed to win a lot more than they lose. And the Eagles this year are winning a lot more than they lose. They're 8-1. They have the best record in football. So as long as that record says that they're good, I subscribe to the you are what your record says you are mentality. And it says...
Who said that?
Bill Parcells, I believe.
Yes, he did.
And it says that the Eagles are a pretty damn good football team, the best in the NFL. I'm happy right now.
Pat, if somebody were to come up to you last night, you're walking about, walking your dog, and the recognizable, there's Pat Egan, let's run up and say hello. And people come running up to you and, Pat, how are you?
Never happens.
And they say, what do you think of these Eagles? What goes through your mind right away?
Probably would have had the same reaction that you had. Like, what exactly do you mean? What do I think about these Eagles? Because to Connor's point, they're 8-1. I mean, the only thing you could say that you'd be happier is if they're 9-0. But 8-1's pretty damn good. I think we get so wrapped up in the fact that they don't look like they did last season, blowing out teams. And last season, you obviously come up short in the Super Bowl. So I think there's a lot of Eagles fans that go, well, they don't look like last year's team, and last year's team couldn't get it done. So how can this year's team get it done? Like the 2011 Phillies were the best Phillies team I've ever seen in my life. The 2011 Phillies team would have dummied the 2008 team.
Agree.
I mean, they would have blown them out. And yet the 2008 team won a championship. 2011 didn't. So I think we're just getting so wrapped up in the fact that they didn't win last year. That's like the underlying thing that no one's talking about, is not so much the optics of how they're doing it. It's the fact that at the end, yeah, they did all that and they didn't win. And I think if they had finally won the Super Bowl last year, if they did it, if they crossed that line and they didn't blow a 10-point lead, then this whole talking point of what's going on with them, they don't look right, they don't look like last year's team, they're not blowing, I don't think it's nearly as loud as it is right now.
It's like they're damning themselves because they were so good last year. That's the only thing that we're looking at.
Almost,
like
yeah.
It's odd. You've won 8 of 9. You're in total control, not only of your division, but probably of the whole NFC. You haven't played your best football, but I just found that, I don't want to say odd, I think it's normal that somebody came up to me like, what's up with these Eagles? That's a 5-4 question.
Yeah.
That's a 6-3 question. It shouldn't be an 8-1 question.
No, and it's funny. I said this on postgame. I almost feel better about this team at this point than I did about last year's team. In a weird roundabout way. Last year's team, listen to this.
I don't know.
Give me a second to make the point before you tell me it doesn't make
but
sense.
I'll just tell you right now, Pat and I don't agree with you.
Okay, well, let me try and convince you guys. That's
All
kind
right,
of the
go
whole
ahead.
gig here. When I look at this team, I say they have so much more on top of how they're playing right now that they can do. This team has not remotely hit their ceiling yet. Jalen Hurts will tell you in post-game availability all the time, we still haven't played a complete game yet, or we still haven't played our best game yet, is the way he'll put it. And last year's team had a lot of times where it's like, oh, wow, this is an incredible team. And I think we were seeing the ceiling of that team. Now, they had a high ceiling too, but they were firing on all cylinders all year. This team is 8-1. This is the first time, record-wise, outside of losing to the Jets, that they have equaled the record from last year's team. Because you remember, they started out 8-0 and then lost to the Commanders.
I remember.
So this team is at the same spot without hitting their ceiling yet. I think that team hit their ceiling a lot earlier last year, and that could mean that this team has even more to go on top of this.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Are you sure about that? They haven't reached their ceiling?
I'm pretty damn sure, yeah.
After 9 games?
Yes.
Pat, if it's kind of a subject that I was going to bring up later or whatever, but are they who we think they are? Are they just this? Or is there, we keep hearing it. Oh, we got to patch some holes. We got to do this. We got to do that. Okay, great teams usually do it before 9 games. Is this maybe just who the Eagles are this year? Which is fine, 8 out of 9.
That thought's crossed my mind for sure. At what point do you go, the holes are never going to be plugged? It's never going to get fixed. I mean, they're going into
but
the season.
But it's not broken either, right?
No, it's not, and that's the thing. It's not broken. We're all going to find out how real this team is with the upcoming games. Like, I'm not worried about Seattle. They're a playoff team, sure, but you're not really worried about them. It's going to come down to, like, the games against Buffalo and against the next game, Monday Night Football against Kansas City, the team you lost to. So you're gonna kind of find out how good you are. I mean, you're facing the second best team in football, record wise, but also probably like legitimately wise, if not the best team in football, the Kansas City Chiefs. You have to go on the road for that game. So that's going to be pretty tough. And you're going to find out if this team is legit, because if they come out of that game with a win, no one's going to care about the optics of how it happened because you beat the Chiefs. But people care about optics when you're beating teams like the Commanders, when you're narrowly when you're losing against the Jets, when you're beating like a Giants team. That's when optics matter. But when you beat a team that's as good as the Chiefs, no one's going to give a rat's ass about how it got done. They're just going to go, okay, good. It got done. This seems real. We can all laugh about the optics thing. Haha. It's not going to matter at all.
And you know what? It's part of what I love about this city. Like going out last night, going to the Sixers game. We're going to talk some Sixers coming up soon because they're a lot of fun right now. But this is what I love about the city. I go out and somebody comes up and says, man, what about these Eagles? And it's, any other city be like, man, shut up. They're 8-1. But it's a legitimate topic because I'm not going to say people aren't satisfied with the team right now. I think that's a little overstating it. And Connor, maybe you think that's the right way to state it. But there are questions, and there's a lot of them. And a lot of it might have to do with the standard that was set by the team last year. But it's not wrong.
No.
I never think it's wrong to look for, air quotes here, perfection in your professional team. You're never going to attain it, but looking for it is okay to me.
Well, I don't even know that it's a look for perfection. There are great expectations with this Eagles team, and that's how you should handle rooting for a great team. We don't get this all that often, right? You don't see a multi-year stretch like this all that often for the Philadelphia Eagles. They've had good runs before, but this is an exceptional stretch. And when you're in it, you want them to maximize what they can do with it. So you should have really, really high expectations when you evaluate this team. And that's what I think it is. The goal is Super Bowl. And you're going to watch every game with that in the back of your mind. Is this team showing that they're good enough to win it all? And there have been times where they haven't this year, and that might scare people a little bit. But at the end of the day, the record says they're right on pace.
So I would say, Pat, that the question is, after what Connor just said, is satisfaction attainable? And I'm not talking about winning a Super Bowl. I'm talking about after 9 games. Is satisfaction attainable when you have such and have had such high expectations for this football team?
Oh, for some, no. No, I mean...
Some or most?
Oh. It's tough. I mean, I don't know if it's the vocal minority that's unhappy. Like, I've been unhappy. I think we've all been unhappy at some point this season with the optics of how they've won some of these games. But I think when you do take a step back, you're more like Connor. We don't get this very often. It's unfortunate. If this were last season, everybody would be thrilled. Like, we'd be peacocking into the bye week. But because you had last season, it warps your view of this season. It warps your view of 8-1. We don't get.
They're almost reversing the way the season should have went.
Yeah,
like last year, if you had good record playing, semi-sloppy, however you want to describe this season, then you'd go into this season and you would expect what they did last year.
Yeah.
But instead, they're doing it in reverse.
No, absolutely. It's the same thing that happened with the Phillies. They saw him, the fan base saw him go to the World Series last year, and the expectation is to get back. So anything short of that is going to drive you insane, even if it turns out being a better year record-wise. We've got to come to terms with the fact that winning seasons, successful seasons, don't always look the same. Sometimes it's going to be more of a struggle to get to the same place than what it was the previous year. But it doesn't mean that you're not capable of winning it all. You just have to get to the point, and you have to have a ceiling high enough that you're a talented enough team to win it all. And those are the things I look for. And this Eagles team has passed that test in my mind.
You're an anomaly as far as Philadelphia fans go. You're very staid. You're very calm. You're very measured.
I'm not during the games. I want people to understand. I'm screaming at the TV.
Sure you are. But you're kind of like, and we always talk about, you're a little bit of an old soul. You're like Andrew. You're kind of like me, where you see a bigger picture before you see the immediate. You don't let the immediate picture overrun your day.
Only when I trust the teams. Only when I'm sure that the team is talented enough to view things that way. Because if this was a team that I thought was right on the verge of being great, I'd be freaking out a lot more. I'd be like, okay, you need to look better to convince me. This team doesn't have to convince me they're good. I know they are. They have to go out and win football games and improve
Which
week in
they've
and
done.
week out, which I also believe they've done. And when we get there, I think they'll be good enough.
Interesting way of looking at it. Everybody has a different way, and this all came to light last night when somebody asked me at the Eagles game or at the Sixers game, what's going on with the Eagles, and I was kind of baffled. But this is the John Kincade Show here at 97.5 The Fanatic. We thank you for joining us on this beautiful Tuesday. John taking a day of rest and recovery. Want to tell you that the 7 o'clock hour is brought to you. No, we're the 6 o'clock hour. We're not 7 o'clock yet.
That's right, Bobby.
It's the 6 o'clock hour. It's brought to you by Bradford White Water Heaters. Bradford White is here for the pro. All right, coming up, I have a question to ask you about the Eagles. I also want to have a little take on the Sixers, but I have a question to ask you about it. And if you have any... What's your outlook so far? It's kind of a conundrum here. 610-632-0975. Let us know. Phones are open all day long. You can tell us what you think. It's odd. 8-1. Are we satisfied? Are we just expecting more? And are we okay where we are right now? 610-632-0975 here at the John Kincade Show. And I got to tell you right now, imagine if your favorite casino came with an undo button. Well, guess what?
The Fanatic, Philadelphia.
Oh, the philosophical talks Connor and I have during the breaks. Welcome back to the John Kincade Show here. 97.5, The Fanatic. John taking a day of rest. Well-deserved. We hope he's still sleeping and isn't listening to us at all. Bob Cooney, Connor Thomas, Pat Egan. We're getting it done here this morning. And we want to hear from you today. We're having fun conversation. And I looked at our YouTube page, Connor, when we were on the break. And it's like, why are you surprised somebody came up and asked you a negative question? That's all you guys do is spew negative about the Eagles. I don't feel that way. And I know I don't spew negative about the Eagles all the time. I just think it's a very interesting conversation of how do you feel right now?
Yeah, here's the thing. Like, our job as fans and our job, us specifically, doing what we do in sports talk radio is to question what could be better about the situations you're in. If we just came on the airwaves and said, the Eagles are 8-1, nothing to talk about there, like, what do you want from us as far as questioning this team? I don't see it as negativity. I see it as being realistic about the challenges facing this team.
See, I think you and I think differently, though.
Why is that?
I don't think we're as much reactionary. Now, sure, if I'm sitting at a bar with you or sitting in your house watching a game, you're probably sitting there screaming and hollering as much as any fan or whatever. But I think once you come on the airways, you get your feelings back and you look at it like the words you use perfectly, realistically. I'm not being a negative person when I say there's a lot of different feelings towards this Eagles team right now, and I just love hearing it all. I'm not saying, oh, let's talk the negative or, no, you have to look at the positive. I just like to know how you really feel. And just looking at the YouTube page, and thanks for joining us, all of you guys there, I think it's interesting that you have people saying, shut up, they're 8-1. Why are you even thinking about this? Or you're never going to win a Super Bowl with a team like this, even though they're 8-1. I love all the in-between about it. If you want to talk about it, 610-632-0975, I think it's interesting.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. And the mindset of a fan base in a season like this is something that absolutely there should be an experiment done on the way we go about assessing this team, for sure. I think it's very interesting, like you said. My thing is, like, when we got people saying, we had Tim McManus on the postgame show, and we asked them a lot of questions about the secondary and the issues there, and what do you think that is, and do you think it can be fixed by Sean Desai going into this bye week? And people are like, why was that such a negative interview? That's not negative. That's understanding what the team is facing that stands between them and continuing to progress towards their ceiling. And that's what we need to focus on. It doesn't mean you don't enjoy the positive, but part of expecting greatness from a team is enjoying the positive while also asking, how do they take that next step?
Yeah.
And that's what we're doing.
I think it's great. Look, I say all this with a smile on my face. They are 8-1. They're owning the division. They're probably going to be the number one seed in the NFC. We all know that. That's great. And I love all that. And if you love how this team is playing, that's great. I just think there's such a disparity between people thinking this. And, Pat, I'd love to know where you are. If you're 100%, I think the Eagles are great. They're 8-1, best team in football. Great. That's fine. There's going to be a percentage down here way lower that say, yeah, but they're not playing good football. This isn't a good enough team to win the Super Bowl. Like, where are you right now after 9 games in between there?
Yeah, I'd like to see what they did last year. I mean, who won it? But at the end of the day, you're 8-1. It's something I've seen happen twice in my lifetime. So now this is the third time I've seen it in my lifetime. We don't get it often. Connor, you brought that point up earlier. So, yeah, Look, I think we'd all like to see them put 50 up every single week and blow out teams. But and the frustration, I think, with a lot of people lies in the fact that things aren't getting fixed. So a good example of that is the red zone offense. It's the same stuff every week. It's Kenny Gainwell. All of a sudden, it's KG time. Like, that's not getting fixed. Maybe we need to wrap our brains around the fact that if they're in the Super Bowl and they need a touchdown and they're on the 15-yard line, guess who's getting the ball? Kenny Gainwell. Like, we need to accept it at this point because Ryan Johnson isn't going to fix it. But there's other avenues that have gotten better as the season's gone on. And it's like, Sean Desai's defense, dialing up blitzes, that's gotten better. So there have been areas of improvement. It's just unfortunately for this team, they're cursed by what they did last season.
It's funny. I, as we all do, but maybe me more. I have a hater on the YouTube chat. It's this guy, Fearless Dave, I think his name is, and he's always coming at me. Oh, Bob, you always sit on the fence and all that stuff, which is fine. No big deal. But he brings up a point. He goes, "Wow, really reaching for football talk this morning, aren't you?"
I mean, if you want, we can be ESPN Radio and talk about the Jets every single day.
I mean, we're going to talk
Are
Union
the Jets
later.
good enough to make the playoffs? I'll talk about it.
Because
Coming up next.
Union coach Dave Curtin's going to join us at 9, so
Jim
we
Curtin.
will be. What did I say?
You said Dave.
Did I really? Oh, my God. Jim Curtin. I'm reading Dave on the thing. That's why I said it. Jim Curtin joining us at 9 o'clock today
Fearless
to
Dave
talk a little about Union. Fearless Dave doesn't like
He's
me.
got
Pat.
real
He
estate
lives
in your head.
Yeah, he lives right in your head, rent-free.
I have trouble sleeping at night sometimes because of it. But I don't think you ever have to reach for football talk in this city.
They just beat the Cowboys 2 days ago. That's a pretty big thing. They're 8-1 going into the bye week. That is the story right now. I mean, they're deeper into their season than any other Philadelphia team playing right now. They have the highest ceiling of any Philadelphia team playing right now. The Eagles are very, very good. We're going to talk about them.
Yeah, you have to, and there's different ways of talking. That's what I find fascinating. 8-1, you would think there's one overriding subject. Oh my God, they're the best team in the NFL. But no, we're smarter fans than that. It seems like we dive in a little bit deeper than most would when a team's 8-1 and the best team in football. Jay wants to talk about it a little bit from West Philly. Jay, you're on 97.5, The Fanatic. What's going on, buddy?
What's going on, y'all?
How you doing?
I'm good. With the Eagles thing, man, you know what it is? We just uncomfortable being the lead dog, man. That's what it is as this city, man. Everything based off that Rocky movie. We got to be the underdog. We all nervous when we the lead dog.
You think we're just not comfortable being on top?
Exactly, because then it's, well, what does this happen?
I am a top.
But every fan is making every week the Super Bowl. So, because we lost the Super Bowl, every week now is everybody's Super Bowl. It's the fans' Super Bowl. It's like, we got to win. We didn't look good. We can't play the Super Bowl every week till we get there.
Well, let me ask you this, Jay. One word answer. Describe this Eagles team right now. One word.
Very good. Well, good. Very good.
All right, so good.
Team.
It's not great. It's not the best. Or it's good to you.
I mean, they the best team in the league to me. But I'm just saying they're a good team. We got to get used to being that. Like, everybody worried about who we play every week. These teams circle us on this calendar, too. Oh, we got to play the Eagles. I know Pat say every football game is the same. You know, everybody get up. But if they get up for us, that's just like when we see the Cowboys, when we used to see the Niners back in the day. Oh, we playing Joe Montana and all of them. You're going to get a better effort. So, and Jalen Hurts is still learning. He playing from the pocket. He looking better from the pocket the last couple games.
Yeah.
I'm liking what we're doing.
All right, Jay. Thanks for the call. Appreciate it. I don't buy into the everybody's out to get us because we have the big, X on our back because we were the
Really?
NFC. I don't.
I do.
Not in professional
Yeah, neither
sports.
do
I
I.
really don't.
Huh, okay.
You come into every game ready to like you're a professional athlete. I mean, I know 1,000 times I've asked players, were you more up for this game than no? Because if I'm not up for every game we play, I'm going to get my ass kicked because this is the NBA. This is the NFL. I don't buy into that. Like, yeah. Now, look,
I
are
get
your
that.
emotions going to be higher for a Super Bowl, a playoff game? Of course. But a professional athlete treating one game a lot different than another because the team is – no, I think they go out there and play their absolute best that they can or try to every game.
Yeah, now you would have more knowledge of that. You've talked to a lot of players over your time covering the Sixers and the NBA, so this is just me from an outside perspective, but maybe it's even a subconscious thing where it's just like you're playing a team as talented as the Eagles. I do think that's part of the equation this year. In my mind is last year the Eagles were supposed to be good. They turned out to be insanely good. This year, there was no doubt that the Eagles are going to be a super talented team, and they were in the Super Bowl. So you see teams like every week you're expecting a team to give you their best shot. I can't debate what you're saying about pro athletes always being zoned in and ready to go and approaching their job like the professionals that they are. But I've always lived under the idea that when you prove that you're a great team, you're going to receive a heightened effort from other teams that you're playing.
I agree, but go ahead, Pat, because you and I are on the same page, I think.
Yeah, I think where the argument for that falls out is we look at it like, oh, well, went to the Super Bowl last year, so we're getting every team's best. All right, well, take some team that, didn't go to the Super Bowl, and 5 weeks in, they've established themselves as one of the best.
Mm-hmm.
Does every team just flip the script and go, all right, we don't have to worry about that Super Bowl team because they're not very good this season. We'll have to worry about this team now because they're like, at what point in the schedule do teams start to recognize, okay, you're going to get their best? Because the argument is last year we didn't get teams' best because the Eagles didn't go to the Super Bowl and they weren't thought of as a team that you had to really look out for. But after like 5 weeks, it was established that the Eagles were one of the best teams in football.
Yeah.
So that argument, I think, it might hold a little bit of weight in the beginning of the season. But when you reach this point of the season, like last year around this time, the Eagles were getting every team's best. If you do believe what you're saying, Eagles are getting every team's best because they were the best team in football.
That's a very fair point. No, yeah, I mean, it is. This is just how I've always kind of thought about it. So this is an interesting perspective from you guys.
Yeah, it's if you're an amateur athlete, if you're playing, if you're playing sports the way we did, it's like you go and you play, and oh wow, now it's a championship. I'm really amped for this. You don't become a professional athlete without being super amped for every game, without knowing you're the best. Like all these guys grew up being the best in early on, high school, probably college. They take that to the court, field, ice every game. I remember, I don't remember who it was, but it was early on in my career where I asked somebody about, I think it was a Sixers Celtics game. And they're like, are you kidding? You think I'm going to get more amped up for another? If I don't get amped up for every game, I'm out of this league.
That was Jarvis Varnado.
It probably was. Jarvis Varnado is probably correct, Pat. Dan in Media, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic. What's up, Dan?
Hey, what's up, guys?
How you doing, buddy?
Tend to skew towards Jay's thinking. I think Jay is kind of right about having a little bit of a target on the back. I do think it's more subconscious adrenaline thing, so I kind of slightly disagree with you guys. But beyond that, I think Sirianni, because he has the pulse of the city, also has this right, which is we get better every day. You know, if you're going to ask me which one word to describe the team, I would say promising. It's still promising that they're going to go ahead and deliver. And they basically have a great record. That's a product of their efforts, but there's still a process side of it, a big process-minded guy, and they get better day by day. And I think it's okay to actually exist somewhere in that haze, and we don't have to be binary in our thinking. So I actually really think that Bob has a finger on the pulse also, thinking that let's just enjoy all of these different opinions. It kind of shows our heart and our brains. And that's just where I am.
No, I agree with you, Dan. Now, let me ask you one question that I posed earlier to somebody else. If you had one word to describe this Eagles team, what would it be?
It'd be promising. That's all, promising.
Okay, so more to come for you.
That's right. They get better on a daily basis. I think Sirianni would want us to think that way also, because otherwise you're resting on your laurels. And as we know, 8-1 doesn't really mean anything. It's just pretty to look at.
Yeah, great, Dan. Thanks for the call. Great call by you. Interesting thoughts there. And this is like what I'm trying to get at. We're not negative. We're not being negative about 8-1. We love 8-1. There's no doubt about it. Is there questions? Yeah, and I think that's just interesting to talk about. We're not spewing negative, but Dan makes a good point. He said promising, Connor.
Yeah.
Do you think this team hasn't reached its potential yet this year?
That's what I was saying in the first segment. Like, last year's team got to 8-1 by playing exceptionally good football.
And they didn't let down.
No, they didn't.
So they carried exceptional throughout the season.
And super talented team. This year has gotten to the same mark. This year's team has gotten to the same mark, I should say, by playing less than exceptional football at points. They've had flaws, sometimes major ones, it seems, and yet they've persisted, and they're now an 8-1 football team heading into the bye week, best team in football. Like, I'm not saying their ceiling is higher than last year's team, because obviously last year's team's ceiling was winning the Super Bowl. They got very close to doing that. I'm just saying it's interesting to me to see a team do the same thing with probably a less perfected way of playing the game so far, and say, okay, do they have another level on top of that? Because I already think this team's ceiling is winning the Super Bowl. But now, how much better can they play as they progress towards that? That's intriguing to me. When last year, I was like, okay, this team's firing on all cylinders. How do they sustain that? It's a different feel.
It's interesting because you could be more impressed that they're 8-1 not playing.
That's what I'm saying.
Exactly. Yeah. So many interesting things going on here. And if you look at the whole landscape of the city, how about 13-2, Connor? What does that tell you?
That's the record between the Sixers and the Eagles since the season started?
That's right. And I was out at the Sixers game last night. Another impressive win. Look, the opponents are what the opponents are. But you have to look more into it than that. They're a fun offense to watch. And you and I were talking about it a little bit before the show. I don't want to, take it back to Doc Rivers. Well, this is what's the difference, whatever. I look at everything individually. I think this is a fun team to watch offensively.
I know we started off the show with your feelings on the Eagles and going in 8-1 and the optics of it, but to me, the Sixers are the much bigger storyline to me. I know the Eagles are good.
Bigger storyline in what way?
I know that the Eagles are one of the best teams in football. And I think when you look at the landscape of the NFL this season, there isn't really a runaway team of okay, that's the benchmark. We got to chase that. And the Eagles just might be that. You look at some of the teams that you were thinking you were going to contend for the NFC with, Dallas Cowboys, well, you just beat them. And you're 3 games up on the division. The 49ers, they've lost 3 in a row. They're banged up. You might not have to worry about them. So you look at the NFL as a landscape. It's just there aren't really those 2-3 runaway teams this season. It really is just still Eagles, Chiefs, that's it. So I know the Eagles are good. I don't know how good this Sixers team is. In my mind, I'm having a tough time processing that this team might be better without James Harden. Subtract James Harden and add Nick Nurse. It might be a better squad than last year's team. But we're going to get our tests on tomorrow night when they play the Celtics. But to me, that's the much bigger. How good are they? It's not the Eagles. I know the Eagles are good. Yeah, they have flaws. Okay, every team does. But the Sixers, I don't know how good this team is because they're playing the damn Wizards.
Yeah, and they were bad last night. I'm watching that Wizards team. Joel Embiid had 29 points in the third quarter alone. And I'm watching him. He just wanted the ball every time, and the Wizards did nothing to stop it. They tried to go zone. Okay, you had a guy playing zone who stayed back and let Embiid shoot 20-footers, and he killed him there. Then they decided to go man. They played a 2-man game with he and Maxey where they ran the pick and roll on the side. Maxey did a great job of feeding Embiid the ball, and he decided, you know what, this time I'm going to catch it. I'm actually going to be physical. And he did it 4 or 5 times, went in for a dunk or a real strong layup, whatever it may be. It was just a really good offensive game by the Sixers last night.
Yeah, it was. And, it's hard not to have one when you look at what the Wizards trot out there. They sold the farm this offseason. Porzingis isn't there. Beal isn't there. That organization is on their way to the bottom of the NBA, and they'd already been pretty close to it for a little bit. So that's expected. The most impressive thing last night to me was the Sixers have a big game Wednesday against Boston.
Yeah.
They have a game against a team in Washington in the Wells Fargo Center. They were favored by more than 11 points, and they went out and they played them like they were supposed to. Because Sixers teams of the past might look at that game and say, okay, there's a little bit of let up here, maybe because we're thinking about Boston. That team was focused on dominating Washington, and they did it. I was proud of that effort.
Yeah, it was funny. We were there, Pat. I was with Jen and my daughter last night, and I turned to her in the first quarter. Sixers were down 3, and she's getting, the frustrated. Oh, come on. I said, look, they're going to get up by 5. Once that happens, they'll never lose the lead again, and this game's going to turn into a blowout. And I even made a bet with her.
How much?
I bet her $1 to her 10 cents that's what was going to happen. And then that's what happened, and Joel Embiid was just phenomenal. So far this year, though, thumbs up with the Sixers, big time, right?
Yeah, it's been a much better product than I thought it was going to be, but still, I just don't know how good they are. I know it seems like a broken record because we go from one sports team in the city to another of how good are they, 610, 632. But, it's such a smaller sample size. You beat the Wizards, who are horrible. You beat the Suns without Devin Booker. You beat the Raptors, who, they're a playoff team, but nothing more than that. They're not going to scare anybody because, whatever. The Trailblazers, come on. They just sold. Then the Raptors again. So it's not exactly a murderer's row of the 5 wins you've beaten. And then the Bucks game, they played really well, and it was on the road, and it was to start the season. And, you could make the case they should have won that game. But, this is my issue with the NBA is the regular season's filled of 85% dreck.
Yeah.
And then it's the tests are thrown in there. And, we got the first test, the first game of the season. Next test is coming tomorrow night against Boston at home. So, that'll tell me a lot. But right now, I don't know how good this team is. I know that they move the ball way better this season than they did last season. They seem to be a better cohesive unit, but I don't know. What happens if tomorrow night they go out and they get smacked against Boston? It's do they come back down to earth? Because then the talking point is, well, okay, Sixers, they're going to be a 3-4 seed, but it doesn't matter. You can't beat Boston. You can't beat Milwaukee.
Yeah.
I just don't know how good this team is.
Well, the good news, Pat, is I saw NBA power rankings out yesterday. I don't know who put it out or whatever.
Thank God.
Boston was number 1 and the Sixers were number 3.
Oh.
Yes. So they are right there. No
I love
matter
power
the
rankings.
opponent.
I live for them.
Oh, I know. We all do.
Standings be damned. Give me power rankings.
So much going on here at 97.5 The Fanatic. We'll take your calls when we come back. A lot of Eagles talk, still going on. We can't just say, it's 8-1, let's move on. No, it's a bye week. Questions about it. I have a question to ask you about the bye week, and there might be varying answers, and you may have one. So let us know what you think. 610-632-0975. This is the John Kincade Show here at 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports. WPEN Burlington, Philadelphia, a Beasley Media Group station. Official home of the Sixers, Flyers, Union, and the best Eagles talk in Philadelphia. 97.5 The Fanatic. Now, back to the John Kincade Show on 97.5 The Fanatic, Philadelphia.
Thanks for coming back to us. Hope you're having a great Tuesday. 6:54 in the morning. Hope you're up and at 'em and ready to go as we embrace what's going on with our local sports team. The Flyers are playing well for what you're expecting of them. The Sixers opened the season 5-1, and they're just fun to watch, and Nick Nurse's system just seems to really integrate with the guys that he has. They seem really happy. They like what he's putting out there, asking them to do. And then, of course, the main topic is the Philadelphia Eagles, and they're at 8-1. And I started the show off by saying, Connor, I had somebody come up to me at a Sixers game last night, like, "What's up with those Eagles?" The exact phrase, "What's up with those Eagles?" And a million thoughts went through my mind. And that's what we're talking about today. We're not being negative. We're not being overly positive. We're just asking you, what's your thoughts on them? And I asked some people, what's your one word to describe the Eagles so far this year? It's what sports to me is all about. There's no, concrete 8-1, that's it. There's no talking points. 1-8, concrete, there's no talking points. No, that's what sports is. There's constant talking points, and that's luckily why we have jobs here.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll tell you what, while we're on the topic of giving the one word to describe the Eagles, I'll give you mine real quick here, all right?
I would love to hear it.
I'm going to go with clutch. They haven't played their best games at points, but when the chips have been down on the table, at the end of the day, this team has just found a way to win games. When they're in clutch moments, they make the plays that other teams are not capable of making. They make the big throws to A.J. Brown if it's Jalen Hurts, or a big run by DeAndre Swift, a long drag-out drive to choke out the other team, or if the offense isn't playing well, like we saw it against Dallas. The defense wasn't good against Dallas, but the defense was clutch against Dallas. When they got their backs against the wall late, they bent, but they didn't break, and they found a way to win that football game. So it might not have been the prettiest start to the season when you watch the games individually, but when you look at the record, when the end of the game comes around, this team just closes teams out.
It's funny. I have a buddy who isn't totally on board with Jalen Hurts, let's just say.
Well, they're wrong,
is convinced that he's surrounded with a great team and therefore looks better than he is. Now, Andrew Brandt put this out yesterday in the terms of your clutchness, and he said, this seems significant. Passer rating when trailing this season. Jalen Hurts, 121.4, first in NFL ranking.
That's pretty good.
Dak Prescott, passer rating when trailing this season, 65.1, dead last in NFL.
That's pretty bad.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it is, though, right? This team is comfortable in playing in tight situations. Like they are. If this team gets down, if this team is in a tight game late, they don't panic. They might not always come out with the winner. They might not always come out with the win in the cleanest way possible. But when their backs are up against the wall, this team finds a way to end up with more points than the opposition. And that's a huge thing.
Yeah, especially when whoever has the more points wins. Yeah, that's a good thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Ike in Southwest Philly, he has a reason why the fans might be negative. Ike, how you doing today?
How y'all doing, man? Good to hear y'all.
Great. Good to hear you.
So I think I think Pat even used the term that how people say keep the same energy. I think when people talk negative, the energy levels seem higher, and when they talk positive, it's like, well, you do know that they're 8-1. It comes down so when you got the more verbal when you're talking the negative, it seems like it's negative more. You know what I'm saying?
So let me ask you this, Ike. Do you think the fandom likes to be negative more than they like to be positive?
I think so, because I think sometimes we try to figure like, hey, let's lower our expectations in terms of what we think can happen. So we're pleasantly surprised when we win, but then we also not as disappointed because we thought we might not win. I think some people do that or whatever. So I do think I do think we're a little bit negative because point blank, everybody talk about what's the difference between this team. First of all, we got a whole bunch more rookies this year. We seem to be more hurt and injured, but we don't factor those things in a lot. I know we talk about the coordinators, but like for example, I heard you yesterday. Y'all was talking about that 3rd and 3 play, right? And I was sitting there like, is it really the coordinator's fault? Because I don't know what the options was. Just because they sent A.J. Long, I didn't see and maybe it's the case. I didn't see, did he have other options that Jalen could have picked people who were short that he could have dumped it off to? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, like I said, I just think sometimes we see the result of the play and we just think, oh, that was a bad call. But a lot of it is how the play plays out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
no, I hear you.
And it's good, though. Y'all right. You are 100% right. Hey, listen, it's cool to have both sides of it.
I just think it's interesting, right?
Because it gives you different perspectives.
Right.
When you listen to somebody who's not thinking exactly how you are, and if you open minded, you'll be like, oh, I could see that.
Yeah,
You know
no,
what I'm
I
saying?
hear you. Thanks so much for the call. Much appreciated. I agree with that. But it's funny. Ike says, it's funny when people talk negative, their voices get up here. But when they talk positive, they say, yeah, they're 8-1. And then Ike proceeded, and this is what I love, proceeded to bring up some of the negatives surrounding the Eagles, and he did exactly what he said. His tone started getting higher and higher.
Yeah, but Ike's right about the mentality with this. And it's a funny thing. You get caught up with what you don't expect over what is expected. So think about it this way. If you got a paycheck for $1,000, you're like, okay, cool. I got the money that I was owed from doing the job that I do. If you won a sports bet for $1,000, you're through the roof. It's the same amount of money, but you didn't expect the one to happen. You get caught up with the non-expected. We expect the Eagles to be good. So when we see the negative, you get caught up in that more. You're like, wow, how is this happening? And that's what we get more emotionally charged about when we talk about it.
That's pretty good. Now, Pat, you are among the most and maybe the most emotional people in this whole building. And I love it. I love the way you don't hide anything. Do you find yourself more emotional when you're upset or more emotional when you're excited about the team?
Oh, it depends on the game. Like if they lose a regular season game, I might be pissed off or whatever, but I'm not like despondent, probably not screaming. Especially Phillies games are a great example of this. Phillies games, if they lose a random game in August, it's like whatever.
Yeah,
now, I
sure.
might be mad at how it happens, but even if they hit like a walk-off home run in a random game in July, I'm usually no reaction. Just like, all right, that's cool, But a playoff game, I am screaming my head off. Like, I'm going nuts. So it definitely depends on the game. The Jets game, I was annoyed, but I know this team is good. So it wasn't like I was worried that this game was going to cost them down the line and this game was going to keep them out of the playoffs and what happens if this is a trickle. No. It was one bad week of football for a team that I know plays a lot of good weeks of football,
right,
and will make the playoffs and is still one of the best teams. It was just, and I equate it to like that mosquito in your bedroom that you see before you go to bed. It's like, it's a nuisance.
It's going to be there.
Yeah, it's annoying. But when it comes to the playoffs, I'm way more animated and way more juiced up. Both sides. Like, I'd say the most animated I got the other day was I yelled, "What the F was that?" when they threw on 3rd and 3. And that was it. Like, push, touchdown, Kenny Gainwell touchdown, the Devontae Smith touchdown, my reaction was, damn, what a throw.
That was great.
But in the playoffs, I'm way more animated, both sides of it. So it really depends on the magnitude of the game. And that game was big the other day, but I didn't look at that game like, man, if they lose this game, it's over. You know what I mean? They didn't necessarily need this game to make the playoffs or win the NFC because they're still a really, really good football team.
All right, you just brought up a phrase that I'm going to ask a question to right after we take Elijah. Elijah in South Philly, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic. What's going on?
Hey, good morning.
Hey, Elijah.
The one thing I wanted to talk about, Bob, was about players getting up for other games.
Uh-huh.
And there was a player in Draymond Green who spoke about that in a podcast. And I believe he actually said he had to get benched because he couldn't get up against teams like the Kings and the Thunder.
Who said this, Elijah?
Draymond Green.
He needed a blue chew if he couldn't get it up.
I think he's different. Don't listen to Pat, Elijah.
But then the getting up for the bigger games is kind of like, isn't it the same as a statement game?
Look, I understand, and I'm not saying that like I don't know, you're Jason Kelsey sitting in a locker room and you don't realize, man, this is the Cowboys coming in and all. But if I were to ask Jason Kelsey sitting down, I have asked other athletes this before, do you get more up for a Cowboys team coming in than you would going to a Giants game? And I've been told endlessly, are you kidding me? This is professional sports. If I don't get up for each and every game, I'm going to get my ass kicked.
But Matt, what do you think Michael Parsons would say in that question about the Eagles?
I think Michael Parsons is an extreme athlete that gets up for every game.
Okay. And on the winning, there's a lot of concerns with this team, but I think everybody would agree with the Jets game. We all just wanted to hear one thing after that game: a win is a win. I was watching that game, and I wanted them to pull that game out any way they could, and that would have been the only time I would have been comfortable with hearing a win is a win. It's hard to win in this league. So that game kind of lets me understand how people think when they say we're 8-1.
Okay.
Because I would have rather been 9-0 and winning that game any way possible.
Yeah, that's not a bad thought, and probably, thanks, Elijah, probably one that a lot of people share.
Yeah, 100%. Like it's easy for us to be critical at 8-1 because we get that opportunity. The Eagles have given us a chance to critique them more by being in the position that they're in right now because we feel comfortable, and now we can look at it. But Elijah's right. Like, for everyone who's like, oh, it's sloppy football, this, that, and the other thing that I wish they were doing better. You're not wrong, but think about how you felt after that Jets game. It's better to be doing this at 8-1 than it would be if they had dropped a couple more games. So they're still a very good football team, and we have the opportunity now to nitpick and be a little bit more negative than maybe it seems we need to be because the expectations are where they've put them by being 8-1.
Right. So I have a phrase that I use a lot, and Pat will tell you this, Connor, and you used to be on the morning show also, so you've heard me use this a lot. A yeah, but game, a yeah, but season, a yeah, but excuse. And what I mean by that is, with this Eagles team being 8-1 now, I think the theme is, yeah, they're 8-1, but it's a yeah, but season. And I understand it, and it's been our talking point most of the morning now, like, why do you have it? But it's understandable why you have it. So I want to ask you guys, I'll give you an example for listeners, maybe if you're not understanding or grasping what I'm saying. If I said, yeah, A.J. Brown has a lot of catches, but he doesn't really block all that well. Obviously, that's an outlandish statement or whatever, and it doesn't make any sense. But what is your biggest yeah, but statement to make about this Eagles team? Because the biggest one, the overriding one is, yeah, they're 8-1, but, and then you go into a myriad of things. But break it down a little more. What's your biggest yeah, but about this Eagles team so far?
The Eagles' defensive numbers, or I guess the Eagles' record looks good, but the secondary still needs a lot of work.
Now, does their defensive numbers look good?
No, that's why I changed it to the record. They were coming into the Cowboys game. I don't know where they stand today, but they were the 6th worst passing defense of football by yardage allowed. So they haven't, but there's times where they shut down good teams. So, like, overall, the eye test for the defense is that they're a solid defensive unit. But the secondary is going to have to improve if this team is going to reach their ceiling.
Say that again?
The secondary is going to have to improve if they're going to reach their ceiling.
The whole team is going to reach their ceiling?
Yes.
Or okay.
No, the whole team. If they're going to be a Super Bowl winning team, the secondary is going to have to be better than they've been.
So breaking it down, you would say, yeah, the Eagles are 8-1, but the defense isn't good enough now to take them where they have to go.
Not even the defense, just the secondary. The defensive line is good enough, and the linebackers in the modern NFL are such a lesser level of importance in the way defenses play. The defensive secondary is going to have to be better if this team is going to reach their ceiling.
All right. Pretty good one there. Pat, you have one? What's a yeah, but with you? Yeah, the Eagles are 8-1, but, or yeah, something. But
yeah, the Eagles are 8-1, but they could be 9-0 if the red zone offense got it together.
Interesting.
And I still see the same issues. Like I talked about it, and no one brought it up because he scored a touchdown, but it was once again a handoff to Kenny Gainwell in the red zone.
Yeah.
Like their affinity for Kenny Gainwell.
He scored in is it 2 consecutive weeks now or twice in 3 weeks? Twice in 3 weeks.
It was Miami, and then it was this week. But
and that run against Miami, if it was the best 3-yard run you'll ever see.
Look, it was a great run, and the run the other day, like once he got by the initial tackler, like he was gone, and it was it's great, and I know some people would be like, well, he's nitpicking a touchdown, but it's the idea of, like, why are we giving the ball once again to the number 2 running back? You're not giving the ball to your number 1 running back in DeAndre Swift, who every time he gets the ball, he seems to gain positive yardage. And I do worry that crunch time, Super Bowl, you're on the 15-yard line, it's third and 6, and it's a handoff to Kenny Gainwell because, hey, that's what we've done all season.
Right. Yeah.
So that's my big complaint about this 8-1 football team. And there aren't a lot of them. Like, I don't really have a lot of complaints about this team.
No, none of us really does, but
because it's hard to complain about an 8-1 team.
it is.
Yeah.
Like last season, I'm sure there were complaints. I got to think about it last season.
I don't know. Well, you were 8-1 after losing to Washington.
Okay, so there you go.
The complaint was specifically that Washington
How
game,
the hell
right?
do you lose to Washington?
Oh, so teams figured out how to beat the Eagles. You hold on to the ball and you run it a lot and all that stuff.
The Gannon defense thing last year, too. I know they had all the sack numbers, but it was still like the very passive coverage type thing, I think, bothered some people last year, but there weren't many. The thing with the Kenny Gainwell thing, though, right? I don't know if this is totally trust in Kenny Gainwell. The big knock on DeAndre Swift coming into this was, can he handle the workload of a full season as a number 1 running back? And it's not ideal to not give him the ball in big spots when you're in the red zone, but could this be a way of trying to mitigate his workload? And when they get into bigger games, when we see them in the postseason, will it be DeAndre Swift like the whole time?
Concentrated effort to keep him fresh.
Yeah, so exactly. That's why I think Rashad Penny hasn't been dressing, because they're trying to keep as many options possible to spread the ball so DeAndre Swift doesn't get worn out.
Interesting.
I don't know. See, that thing, like when I see that, I totally agree with what Pat's saying. The Kenny Gainwell touches in the red zone, too much. But is the thought process behind that, we want to make sure we're trying to balance out DeAndre Swift as much as possible so that this guy is available later on in the season?
Could be. Fair enough. Johnny in Cherry Hill, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic. What's up, John?
Fellas, good morning.
How you doing?
I'm good. I just wanted to share my confusion, I guess, a little bit on my view is with the Eagles is that I'm looking at it from a positive side, we're fighting. We have the ability to, I'm 40 years old and I've seen a lot of Eagles games, and we was always a majority of the time on the opposite end, like mid-game adjustments, we fall short. Like, we have the talent and we're changing in game and we're fighting. Granted, a bit harder schedule this year, and we're winning. My concern more is I want to see the coordinators get into a better rhythm because, we're doing what we're doing as players and adjusting and coming out winning. Like, we're fighting out there. They know what they got to change and work on, and they're doing it, and it's hard to click in all, aspects and all phases, and like, last year, every week we wanted to see something better in something, whether offense, special teams, whatever. And it's going to be like that all year. This is the NFL. It's hard. And I love that we are fighting mid-game and, doing mid-game adjustments and coming out 8-1. Like, this is, man, I'm loving the fight that my team presents every week. And guess what? We get the best out of every team that we play because we're – I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'll give you that, Johnny. Thanks for the call. We're up against it. Yeah, but every team's going to fight. I mean, I don't expect any team to roll over. He's talking about in-game adjustments. That hasn't been an overwhelming topic in my mind. I know second game of the season, I love that they ran the ball a couple times and saw, wow, we can really run the ball on the Vikings, and they did it 28 times to DeAndre Swift, and he went for 175. In-game adjustments?
Yeah, it kind of has been for me. Think about the adjustments you made against...
I'm just saying it hasn't been overwhelming for me. It's probably subtly taken place that I haven't noticed.
The Rams game, you were getting
Rams game was phenomenal, yeah.
Second half, you shut them out. This game against Dallas, the defense allowed 6 points in the second half.
Yeah.
After allowing 17 in the first.
Was that the Eagles doing more or the Dallas doing more?
Well, that's a really tough question.
Yeah,
that's
sure.
Inside the intricacies of football, that would be a better question for the coaches. I would say, though, that like you see that stark of a difference between halves. Something's happening at halftime that they're working on.
No, it's a good point. Like I said, it could be something that I just don't notice. Pat, has that been an overwhelming topic in your head? Like they've done great with mid-game adjustments?
It's at times, yeah. I mean, I think Sean Desai, not so much Brian Johnson.
Yeah.
I think Sean Desai's been the guy that's adjusted the most for sure. Brian John, I don't know. I'm not how everybody acted about Jonathan Gannon last year. That's how I am with Brian Johnson. I didn't hate Jonathan Gannon at all.
Right.
And a lot of people go, well, their offense is putting up this many points. And I look at it like, yeah, but their offense could be so much better. He's Doc Rivers did. He's got him in handcuffs because of the I can't quit you mentality with some of these players. So I hope to God he comes out in the second half and adjusts, because when you come out and you say things like, we can throw the ball 50 times.
Yeah.
Like that tells me that your ego is getting in the way of you actually formulating a decent game plan, because you're positive that your way it's going to work.
Yet
Even though
another
your way might not be working.
Yeah, it's another subject, right? Another subject that we bring up. I haven't even thought about in-game adjustments all that much because it hasn't hit me over the head. So that's where we are with the Eagles this season. There's just so many thoughts. 8-1 is the overriding factor. I want you to call in 610-632-0975. What's your but? Yeah, the Eagles are 8-1, but 610-632-0975. This is the John Kincade Show here at 97.5, The Fanatic.
Well, here's a but. Yeah, but the Hess truck's back, but it's better than ever.
Welcome back, John Kincade Show. Hope you're having a great Tuesday, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Good time in Philadelphia sports as I was out watching the Sixers totally destroy the Washington Wizards last night. We got your 8-1 Eagles, which has been the topic of conversation. And Connor, want to dive into a little baseball real quick. As yesterday, the Phillies made a qualifying offer to Aaron Nola at $20.3 million for 1 year.
He'd be dumb to sign.
What world? Here's Connor Thomas.
Oh, very good, Pat.
He'd be dumb to sign that deal.
I think we all agree. Yeah.
But guys, he wants to be here. He said it. He wants to be here.
He does want to be here. And it sounds like from Dave Dombrowski's exit interview that he wants him back. And with the playoff performance, I can understand that.
Sure.
It's a really, really interesting spot because this is the main focus of the team. You don't have a position you need to add. You don't have a position player you need to bring in. Can you make the bench stronger? Sure. But your main focus is starting pitcher. And will that be Aaron Nola or somebody else is a huge question. But
sure.
Nola would be dumb to not take a multi-year deal at this point in his career.
Yeah.
This is where you cash the big check. And it's going to be a multi-year deal, and it's going to be in the neighborhood of probably $170 to $200 million.
It's got to be under $200 million because then I win $2.27 from Pat.
Okay, so we got a little wager going on.
Yes,
there.
we do.
I love that.
Yeah.
I lean towards you, Bobby, but there's also the chance that there's a desperate team that just outbids you. So you might have to go get someone else. But it's telling that they extended the qualifying offer to Nolan and not Rhys Hoskins. Hoskins is probably gone. And
See, I disagree.
Really?
I don't think that's shocking at all. You weren't going to extend a qualifying offer to a guy for $20 million that is coming off major knee surgery.
Yeah, I got you, but
like his price tag, he's not going to get $20 million in the open market. So why would you extend him a qualifying offer at $20 million?
So do you think he's back? So extending that, okay, they didn't do that, but you still think he's coming back?
I think there's a chance he comes back.
Oh, okay.
I don't think it's a foregone conclusion he's not. Like Kimbrel, Lorenzen, yeah, those guys can kick rocks. But Rhys Hoskins, I still think there's a chance that he comes back. Although with the way that Bryce Harper played first base, I would think that it's not a great chance.
I'd be really surprised. But I'd be much less surprised if Aaron Nola is back in a Phillies uniform. Just when you see the qualifying offer tendered to Aaron Nola, don't even think about it. He's not taking that deal.
No, he's not taking that.
It's just due diligence to see if you can get him on that.
Yeah, there's no sense for him taking a 1 year deal and not getting the big money.
It's due diligence in the sense of you're grabbing a draft pick, which is the important thing.
Yeah.
When he signs elsewhere.
Yeah.
Because you know that the Phillies do this knowing that he's going to get more than $20 million. And if he does accept, a la like the Phillies did this with Kevin Millwood back in the day, and they didn't think he would accept the qualifying offer, and then he tested the market. He didn't really have much of a market, so he accepted the deal. Like, that's a different situation. Aaron Nola is going to get more than $20 million. So it's like, all right, well, if he's going to get more than that and we have a chance of losing him, then you might as well qualify him an offer so you get a draft pick as compensation. But if you did that with Kimbrel, Lorenzen, or Rhys Hoskins, guys who aren't going to command $20 million in the open market, then you're just overpaying at that point for a 1 year deal. It makes no sense.
Yeah,
absolutely. And if you got to pay for something like that and you got to try and make a little bit of extra money, you could check out the all new Bet Parks app. They got great bets you can make, and they bring us your 7 o'clock hour here on 97.5 The Fanatic. Sportsbook and casino in one sleek, easy to use app in PA and New Jersey.
Very good. Tasty Cake Dom on the line wants to talk a little Joel Embiid from last night. Dom, first off, how you feeling, buddy, and what are you doing? You sitting out on your deck this fine morning?
No, I'm getting ready. I have a doctor's appointment, so I'm actually listening to the show, but I have to get ready and go to the doctor's.
All right.
Yeah, I'm doing good. I'm
good.
Really enjoyed. You made me think, Bob, how fortunate we are right now that we have an 8-1 football team, and yet you can still go, yeah, but. I mean, that's a pretty great situation to be in.
What would you have on, Dom? If I said to you, all right, the Eagles are 8-1, what is your but? Yeah, they're 8-1, but do you have one?
I don't have one. Coming off a Super Bowl
It's a fine answer
year,
too.
Coming off a Super Bowl year, and then we're 8-1 now. That's a pretty good place to be at.
It's not bad at all. What about Embiid last night, Dom? I was out at the game.
I know you were. I wanted to ask you, Bob, you ever seen anything like that third quarter? I mean, they were, Ala was saying about Kobe scored 30. And I didn't see those games. I never saw one quarter where a guy was perfect. And the guy was perfect.
I covered a game. It's funny you brought that up because I forgot that I thought about this. I covered a game up in Brooklyn where Joe Johnson was playing for the Nets. Remember him?
Yeah.
Big, 6'8", strong. I think he still plays 3-on-3.
ISO Joe, yeah.
I think he had 30 against the Sixers in the third quarter of a game up there. But that was rare. Like Embiid was just give me the ball and I'll score, and he did every time last night.
He's so that like step in from the foul line jumper that
Automatic.
That's an unstoppable shot. It's just unstoppable, and you can't foul. To have a 7-foot guy that you cannot foul because he's 9 from 9 for he's what an 83-84% foul shooter. I mean, Bob, coming into this, I was kind of not that Celtics loss last year in the playoffs. It just numbed me.
Yeah,
like I wasn't feeling it. But you said it this morning. This Sixers team is an entertaining team to watch.
It's fun so far, Dom. And Dom, listen, good luck at the doctors. Hope everything goes well, and we'll be talking to you soon, buddy.
Love you. See you
All
guys.
right, take care, buddy. Pat, here's a 6th degree of me. I don't like to do that, but so
you seem pretty excited.
No,
Mr. I don't like to do that.
Joe Johnson.
I may have told you this. So my wife comes home from going out to dinner with her friends a couple weeks ago, and she goes, "Yo, do you have a guy that calls the show Tasty Cake Dom?" And I said, "Yeah." One of her best friends went to her prom with him.
Whoa, look at that.
Yeah, that's pretty good 6th degree, isn't it?
It is. Did you brought up Joe Johnson's name? Did you see he was unfortunately kind of in the news a little bit?
I didn't see it. No.
He
something bad?
His wife, he found out his wife has an OnlyFans account. He had no idea.
Oh, I thought that was no, that was the guy from Maryland, the number 1 pick. Oh my God,
it was
Smith.
Joe Johnson. Oh, you're right. It was Joe Smith. I'll show
Joe
my
Smith.
mic off. I don't know.
No, don't shut your mic off.
OnlyFans and I don't know basketball.
No, and I'll show my age here.
You're right,
What
it
is
was
an
Joe
only?
Smith.
I don't know what OnlyFans is.
OnlyFans
I'll
is
tell you when you're older.
Yeah. You're not. No, you're on. When we explain the birds and the bees to you, old man, we'll break down OnlyFans.
All right, we'll do.
It's a website that you can set up, and people pay a subscription fee to, like, let's say, see your
to
cooking
be with you
you're,
on your.
you're cooking, right?
Okay.
So you can sit there and put some recipes up, and they go, you know what? I'll subscribe for $4 a month to get all your recipes. Or your
recipe
nudes.
being a different word. I hear you, Pat. I understand where you're going. I was distracted. Yeah, I apologize.
Yeah, I'll bang that.
Yeah, as soon as I did see the story, though, Joe Smith, who did play for the Sixers for a little bit, out of Maryland, number 1 pick. As soon as I did see that, I was like, damn, Pat's going to make fun of me because I'm going to ask him exactly what that
is. It's a website that your parent restrictions are blocking it from your phone.
Google it on your work computer during.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
yes,
exactly.
yes.
No, I just took that video the other day with the question and answers, our company video.
Good work,
Slick Rick in West Philly. You're on 97.5 The Fanatic. What's up, Rick?
It is. Good morning. The first thing I want to start with, a lot of positive energy, all right? I got a lot to say. I'm going to give you the short story, the long story. First of all, I want to wish everybody good health, happy holidays, and continued improvement on their health. I enjoy your show. All right? I haven't called in a long time. I'm a long-time listener. I haven't called in a while. I like you guys. I enjoy your show. I listen to all the time slots. And whether they're listening or not, there are people that used to be on the station are going to remain unnamed that I miss, but I'm still a faithful listener, and I enjoy the show.
Well, we appreciate it, Rick.
Now getting on to my call, all right? Not just, this isn't directed at you guys. This is just in general, mostly for the people of Philadelphia. More positive energy on all levels. Like, we're living in an era where the baseball team, the football team, and the basketball team are all doing well at the same time. All right? I played semi-pro ball, to tell you a little bit about me, and you feed off of the energy of the fans, and you feel off of the vibe. And we need to have a higher level of fandom, meaning less criticism and more constructive things that are being said about all the teams.
Nah, the next word is criticism when you say constructive, right, Rick?
Right. But at the same time, like, I'm hearing, and I could be wrong, but I'm hearing that, like, the Eagles are 8-1, but, like, that's the best record in the league. Like, the only thing better is 9-0.
All right, so your but is there is no but.
Honestly.
Okay, that's fine, and that's a good answer. So, Rick, let me ask you this question just to end this real quick. If you had one word to describe the Eagles this year, what would it be?
Outstanding.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Rick. I appreciate the call. Rick's obviously, no, I don't want to say obviously. Is Rick in the vast minority in saying outstanding? If we polled 100 people, how many do you think would use the word outstanding for the Eagles? And I'm not saying they shouldn't. They are 8-1. And Rick's saying this city's too negative. I'm not skewing negative, and I'm not saying too positive. I love looking at all the stuff in between because I think it's all justifiable.
Yeah, if it was Family Feud style, outstanding would be on the board.
Okay, out of 100 people, it would be?
It would be on the board, but it would be one of those ones you have to get on like the second chance rebound from the other team. Like that would be. So
the other family would get it after the one family struck out.
Exactly. It's not top of the list. I don't think he's wrong to say that. I just don't think that's the mentality of this fan base right now. I think the mentality is largely positive. I do. I think if you really evaluated everything, the majority of Eagles fans are positive about the 8-1 football team, as they should be. But I do think that the realistic expectations for this team were so high that it's hard to accept anything less than greatness. And there have been parts of this team that have not been great at points. So we continue to strive for what Jalen Hurts calls a complete game. And until you see that out of the birds, there's going to be parts of this fan base that doesn't call it outstanding, and I think that's okay.
Yeah, outstanding is all right. Say it was 100. What's it? 5, 6, maybe?
Maybe even less.
Top
than that.
10 answers.
Yeah,
maybe less than 6.
Yeah.
How many? All right. If we did do this, Pat, I'll go to you. If you did poll 100 people, how many of the answers do you think would be positive, and how many do you think would skew more towards the negative side?
I think a lot of them would be positive.
Okay, good.
I think the majority of them would be positive.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I think the positive people don't feel the need to voice their positivity, I guess. You know, like the negative is on Twitter. We joke about it. Twitter's a cesspool, and it is. Because, you know, it's you could say, oh, what a beautiful day, and somebody will oh, it's a beautiful day. Well, it's blah, 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 and they'll complain about something, right? So when you are following an NFL game on Twitter, it's horrible because it's mostly negative. And even after the game, it's a lot of negativity because it's about what didn't happen. But I think the majority of people are walking around going, all right, 8-1, high-fiving. And they don't feel the need to call into sports radio stations. They don't feel the need to tweet in because they're content. And when you're content, what's the point? What's the point of making phone calls and high-fiving and stuff? And I'm not, downplaying anybody that did call up. We appreciate your time. But I feel like mostly the positive people don't feel the need to do that because they're okay. They're good. You call up and you contribute on Twitter when there's a problem. And I feel like because of that, it might skew our view of things because we look for interaction on Twitter, on the phones, and on YouTube.
Yeah, you don't have to convince anyone an 8-1 football team is good. Like, you need to convince, if you believe the Eagles have issues, that there are things still to work on. Like, there's no one in this fan base that thinks the Eagles are not a good football team. That's insane to say.
No.
And anyone who says that is not a true fan of the sport or the team.
Right.
But when you look at...
But there's that word again.
No, but I'm saying there are people who are trying to convince you that there are things this team still needs to work on. And I think the fear might be complacency a little bit from the fan base.
I kind of disagree. I don't think people are trying to convince you on something. I think there is legitimate stuff that this team needs to work on.
No, I know that's what I'm saying, but I think that's the drawback, right? People don't want, when you see the blind positivity, the fear is that, okay, maybe the team feels this way, maybe the players feel this way, and you don't want complacency to ruin what could be a really good season. You want them to continue to fight for better, and that's why I think people are so vocal about things that could be viewed as negative, because...
there's very few perfect teams.
Right.
And that's in all sports.
In the history of sports.
Like, you look at the NHL and you've got teams that are obliterating squads in the regular season and they look unbeatable, and then first round of the playoffs they get bounced.
Shout out Boston.
You look at baseball. I mean, it's the same thing. You look at football. The closest thing we've seen is the Patriots, and they lost the biggest game of the season, the Super Bowl, to Eli Manning. So I think when you take a step back and you look at the teams that end up winning championships, there's at times in a season where the fan base is going, yeah, but. Like, oh, they might be good, but their bench isn't good enough, or the coaching decisions, or the rotations, or the lineup, or the bullpen, or whatever. Like, there's an issue that arises that the fan base goes, that could be the Achilles heel. And then that team wins the championship, and it's all forgotten. Like the 08 Phillies, it's forgotten that Brett Myers got sent down to Double-A because he was so bad. It's forgotten that they were booed off the field and people threw trash game 2 of the season. Like, that's all forgotten because they won a championship. But the 2011 team that was obliterating everybody, it's like you focus on that because it's a missed opportunity. So, I just think that at this point, that's every team. Every team in sports, every team that's won a championship, if you're in the midway part of the season, the fan base is probably questioning something regarding that team.
Sure, and that's what sports is, and that's the joy of it all, is to question no matter what. And I love all the discussions. Carlos in Regalsville, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic. What's up, Carlos?
How you doing today?
Good. How you doing, buddy?
Good. One word to describe the Eagles this year: exciting.
All right, let me go to Connor real quick. Where does that land on the board? Is that one of the top answers?
It might be on there, but I'm interested to see why you use that word.
Yeah, give us why exciting, Carlos.
Okay, very, very quickly. Exciting in a good way, exciting in a bad way, exciting in it'll get you on the edge of your sofa with your heart ready to pop out of your chest.
I get what you're saying.
Exciting where you're screaming at the TV and you want to throw something through it, but also exciting when you watch some of the beauty of how good they really are at moments. They're phenomenal at moments. Anybody that I heard earlier, somebody wasn't completely convinced on Jalen Hurts as a quarterback. Anybody that says that is not a fan of football, doesn't understand how the game is played. Jalen Hurts is the absolute reason the Eagles are 8-1. He is a leader. Before anything else, he is a guy that anybody that's played sports at a high level knows you will follow that guy into the battle blindly, no matter what the odds are. That's what makes Jalen Hurts so special. That's what makes him such an exciting player, and it's what makes him such a special individual in sports, because we don't see that all the time.
Interesting.
The fans are behind that guy, and the team, more importantly, will take a bullet for him.
All right, Carlos, exciting. We'll put that one on the board. Appreciate your call. So he's calling Sunday night's game exciting.
Yeah, I mean, it was. Like, was it not? Think about it from the perspective of just a football fan. This team does not play boring football games.
No, not at all.
So Carlos is right. On both sides, whether positive or negative, you can always count on the Eagles to play a game that is going to be entertaining to a sports fan. Now, he also framed it that exciting in a positive way or a negative way. But I understand where he's coming from here.
Yeah, no, it's right. It's hard when it's that nail biting. I guess it would be hard for people to say it was exciting.
Well, it's not the best evaluation of like how the team's skill level is or where their ceiling is or anything like that.
Right, but you're right. As a game, it was exciting.
As a product of football, I mean, the Eagles are a very exciting team to watch week in and week out. They're must view if you're a fan of football. So I get what Carlos is saying.
Yeah, Pat, exciting. Would that be a word that you would use to describe Sunday night's game?
Yeah, if you weren't an Eagles fan or a Cowboys fan, that's the definition of an exciting game. You come down to the last play, and they're on the 22-yard line, so it's not like exactly a Hail Mary. You could see a situation where they do score. Yeah, that's the definition of an exciting game, right? If we were watching that on Sunday Night Football, we'd be like, yo, did you see that game last night? It was incredible. Now, because we're Eagles fans, the anxiety was way too high for that game, and it's nerve-wracking, so you're in a different situation. But, yeah, absolutely, it was exciting.
And Connor, you're right. They do play exciting football, because if you're a fan of them, you love that they win so much. And as John points out often, they don't lose games by a lot where you lose interest. And if they're blowing somebody out, well, as an Eagles fan, that's exciting too. So, all right, John Kincade Show here at 97.5 The Fanatic. When we get back, we have a Pat's takes on how do you handle this week? And who is this week best for? And I've got another question to shoot you about something that we've heard often from the Eagles players, Eagles coaches, and I want to know how you feel about it. But right now, I got to tell you, as the weather gets colder, the NFL offers stay hot on FanDuel in partnership with Valley Forge. because right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action than right
Official home of the Sixers, Flyers, Union, and the best Eagles talk in Philadelphia. 97.5, The Fanatic. Now, back to the John Kincade Show on 97.5, The Fanatic, Philadelphia.
John Kincade Show here at 97.5 The Fanatic. Bob Cooney, Connor Thomas, Pat Egan. We got Haley running the YouTube, Brendan Gunn answering your calls and doing all the other fun stuff that he does. What a week. What a week it's been. Sixers 5-1.
It's
Eagles
Tuesday.
8-1. Well, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. You had a game Sunday, you had a game Monday.
You think the week starts on Sunday?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Everybody does. It's
No,
officially,
everybody does
that's how
not.
the calendar starts.
What's the last day of the weekend?
Saturday.
Sunday.
Sunday is the last day of the weekend?
No, I'm just going by the official count. Yeah, to me, the week starts on Monday, and I think
because I've gotten into this before with some absolute crazy people that the
You
week
got
starts
into
on
it?
a Sunday. Oh yeah, I've gotten into heated debates about this.
Why does the calendar do that? Why does the calendar start the week on a
Because
Sunday?
the Romans were dumb.
Wow, that's a pretty bold statement.
Yeah, but is it though? I mean, they're not around really anymore.
Yeah, come on. They'd still
Yeah,
be here.
he's got a point.
Wash Dynasty. Older than the Cowboys.
Well, that's like Chuck D'Amico
Accurate.
often asks, why is 60 seconds a minute not like 54? Like, why is everything round?
No, so you're trying to pull us off our point. The point is
Okay.
the week starts on Monday.
The week
All right,
starts
so-
on Monday, and there's no rhyme or reason for why the alphabet is the way it is.
All right, so the Eagles played last week?
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh.
we're on a new week, bud.
All right, let me rephrase that. It's been a good couple of days in this sports city. How
There you
about
go.
that?
Yes, it has.
Yeah?
Absolutely.
All right, we'll go with that one. Yeah, Sixers last night, nice win. Just crushed the Washington Wizards. Joel Embiid, 29 points in the third quarter alone, winds up with 48. It was funny, they had one final possession, the Sixers did. They held Washington, missed a shot with 15 seconds to go in the third quarter. And Pat Bev got the ball and went down, and they left the lane wide open, and he went in and scores. And Embiid's standing back there like with his arms up, like, come on, man, I want my 50.
Yeah,
That was pretty good, wasn't it?
That wasn't bad,
Wasn't
actually.
bad, yeah.
Yeah, he was looking for the heat check three that he loves to just when he's feeling it, he starts.
God.
He doesn't do the like big foot right on the 3-point line. He'll take one from a couple steps back. And
Yeah.
it's like, oh, okay, Joel's
Yeah.
feeling himself right
And
now.
he certainly was feeling it. He went 10 for 10 from the floor, 9 for 9 from the line in that third quarter last night. The MVP chants were going crazy. Oh, and our friend Dave, Pat, who called in yesterday from Ben Salem,
Yeah.
Dave, I'm walking down. Jenna and I go to the game. We go to walk down to our seats in the section. Jenna has the tickets on her phone. So she shows the security guy there, and he looks at him, and then he looks up, and I'm walking past. I didn't even recognize him. He's like, Bob, Dave, it's from Dave from Ben Salem. He was the guy in our section.
Oh, that's cool.
Last night, yeah. So he said he might call in
I
today.
saw him down there last season.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Yeah, last year was his first year with the Sixers, I think. He
Last-
also does Phillies also.
Yeah, last year I saw him doing the elevator for the press box and all that stuff.
Oh,
so
okay. How wild is that the section that we were sitting in was his section?
Maybe he planned it like that.
It's crazy, isn't
Maybe
it?
he wanted to protect Bob and Jenna.
He went up to he goes up to the lady sitting next to us and gave her son something because, said, oh, first game, here you go, gave him like a sticker. And he goes, now watch out for this guy sitting next to you. Well, the lady didn't know, and she got this scared look on her face like, oh, man, thanks for telling me. And he's like, nah, I'm just messing with you. He's a decent guy. But for the rest of the night, the lady wouldn't even turn my way.
She didn't want it.
Nah, she was scared to death. So.
Maybe she thought it was Jenna.
Maybe.
Jenna's intimidating.
Very, all 5'2" of her. She's very, very scary. Oh, all right. So Pat,
Oh, come on.
I
dude.
was going to say this is an off week for the Eagles. Is that okay to say now that we're defining the weeks?
Well, I mean, it's okay to say it's accurate.
Okay. So in Pat's takes, he wants to talk about this off week for the Eagles.
This is Pat's point of view. Here's Pat.
Hi, guys.
What's up, buddy?
Hey.
So the Eagles are off this week. Kind of sucks. Not fun.
No.
All right, we look forward to Eagles games, but there's good that can come out of this. I mean, the Eagles are extremely banged up right now. No one more so than Jalen Hurts. Dallas Goedert, obviously. Like, if there's a time that you want a guy to have a fracture in his arm, it's probably in the middle of the bye week, around the bye week time, because at 4 weeks, all of a sudden becomes, you're only missing 3 games instead of 4. So Yeah, but it's not like he's going to come back. But I think, nicks and cuts and bumps and bruises and all that, they get healed up there around this time, especially for a guy like Lane Johnson. So we know, that there's a lot of people that can benefit from this bye week. I'm going to take out Jalen Hurts, all right, because that's too easy. But who do you think is going to benefit most from this bye week?
You want to take now? You're talking to anybody in the organization. It's funny because you and I, we put out our stuff last night separately, and a lot of mine and yours was the same, and this was one of them.
Well, you read mine first, and then you copied.
No,
it's called plagiarism.
I would never do that.
As a journalist, you should know what that is.
I got accused of that one time.
Did you really?
Yeah.
You got accused of journalism? Plagiarism?
Yeah. So we had this thing that we did in the Daily News. It was on the back page, and I forget the name of it. But it was like a little quip, kind of like what you do with your stuff. It's just a little quip of things that were either written around the country, and you put your own spin on it. I did it and then put my own spin on it and all. I forgot to attribute the quote and where the story came from.
Gotta cite your sources.
It just stayed out. It's like one out of a million times that. And the guy called our boss and said, I want to accuse him of plagiarism. So my boss gave me the guy's number. I called him and I said, look, dude, here, let me send you examples of what we do. I just forgot to include. And the guy was like, oh, okay, my fault. No problem.
I was going to say, when in journalism, when you get accused of plagiarism, what happens?
Fired.
All right, so that's...
Yeah.
But it's not like you get credentials, taken away or anything, or you're just a pariah in the industry?
Pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not supposed to.
Yeah, they throw tomatoes at your head.
Yes, there is that. So, Connor, I'll let you answer first. This bye week comes best for whom? And I'll even expand it, Pat, in the Eagles organization.
I'm going to go with a guy that actually hasn't played in a minute. I'm going to give it to Cam Jurgens. He was his practice window was activated, but he was not active against the Dallas Cowboys. And I thought the offensive line looked shockingly below what they normally look like when it comes to protecting Jalen Hurts. And if we're talking about Jalen Hurts being a guy that Pat's taking off the board clearly, because that's a guy we'd all pick, right? Make sure his knee feels better. The next best thing are the guys that protect Jalen Hurts being at full strength. And if Cam Jurgens is good to come back and play for this team, I think that's a great thing to have for the offensive line to be back at full strength. So I'd be excited if I was him to have a week's worth of rest, a week's worth of practice and walkthroughs and everything to get back up to playing speed so I can slot back in with the offensive line and protect Jalen Hurts to the fullest of our abilities.
Okay, I'm going to say that you're in the right church, but in the wrong pew.
So you're going one position to the right.
I am. Very good. Exactly. I really started to think of it this weekend when I was watching the game. We can talk about Lane Johnson and hasn't given up a sack, although he did give up one, but then they changed it out. I think he gave up one the other night officially. But it's something different than that. Here's the numbers I'll give you. 80, 99, 59, 109. Those are the Eagles' rushing totals over the last 4 games. We can argue that they haven't been giving the ball up enough, that DeAndre Swift hasn't had enough carries, whatever it may be. We can relate it back to the knee that we talked about earlier about Jalen Hurts. I got to think, Pat, that a lot of it might have to do with Lane Johnson because we know how important he is to this team. I want him to get righted this week. Do you think the running woes recently might have something to do or does have something to do with him?
It could. I don't, though. I think they're picking bad spots of when they want to run the ball. Their running game is, I feel like, way too obvious. I don't necessarily think, but I mean, then again, yeah, they've been missing their starting right guard for, 3-4 weeks, so it's hard to say it hasn't had an effect. Sua Opeta I thought was doing a decent job, but they felt the need to replace Sua Opeta with a rookie.
Yeah,
and not like a rookie first-round pick, but a rookie third-round pick. So clearly they weren't pleased with the job that Sua Opeta was doing. But there's a reason why, Steen was third on the depth chart to start the season. So, there's a lot of credence of what Connor's saying there with Cam Jurgens getting healthy because we haven't seen this offensive line fully healthy in a bit.
Yeah, and they could definitely use that. Now, who's yours, Pat? Because you're the one who posed this question. I'm interested to see if you go to a different spot than Bob and I did.
I do. I will go with Brian Johnson.
Huh.
I had a feeling you were going to get. That's why I expanded to organization. I had a feeling you were going to go outside of players.
I think Brian Johnson needs to have a good, long, hard look in the mirror and ask himself if he is putting this team in the position to be most efficient. Because I think on autopilot, this team scores 25 points a game. But is Brian Johnson hindering them? And I used the example earlier of Doc Rivers and handcuffs. Is he handcuffing this team and putting them in a position to only score 25 when they're capable of scoring 35? Because we all know there's been way too many points left on the board by stupid play calling. And I know a caller earlier said he wouldn't attribute to it. I would. Like, if they had lost that game, the number one enemy in this city is Brian Johnson for 3rd and 3 deciding to do a pass play. Because you have 2 opportunities to get 3 yards. And with the push, you can get that in 1 push. They did. They got it when they were backed up on the goal line. So I need that dude. While I don't have a lot of faith in him, I need that dude to do a long, hard look in the mirror and ask himself what about his offense he needs to change and what he needs to keep. I think a lot of it is solid, but once again, it's on autopilot. Like, you got A.J. Brown, you got Jalen Hurts, you got DeAndre Swift, you got a great offensive line. You should be able to put up points, and they are. But could they put up more points if this guy didn't decide to get too cute with it and hand the ball off to Kenny Gainwell?
Yeah, I haven't seen it that way because I've looked at the numbers with the offense and I say, okay, they're still a very, very productive offensive unit. But when you put it that way about are they this in spite of Brian Johnson, maybe I need to look at that a little bit closer because I'm a little bit easier on him than it sounds like you're being, Pat. But there's definitely validity to what you're saying, especially with how good they were last year with, you could argue, less pieces on offense.
Yeah, I mean, look, last season, the ire of Eagles fans was Jonathan Gannon.
Right.
And I think that had to do with a carryover from the year before. But Shane Steichen was never an issue because the offense was doing incredible things. You guys can correct me. I don't remember a lot of games we were coming out going like Shane Steichen's offense didn't fill in the blank, right? Like didn't perform, didn't score this many points. But it seems like every week we can pinpoint 1, 2, 3, 4 decisions from Brian Johnson where you go, dude, what were you thinking? Like, what was going through your head on this play?
Yeah.
And, I mean, it was the 3rd and 3 call. I mean, even if if Jalen Hurts had audibled out of it, I'd give him a pass. That was a design throw play on 3rd and 3. That all you have to do is pick up 3 yards, you get the first down, and the game's over. And they weren't able to do it, and it put us in an anxiety form, 3-4 minutes later or so, where we're sweating it out. So Brian Johnson's my vote.
Yeah, if I had to pick one more too, I just want to throw this one out there because I know there's probably a lot of people who think this. I think Kevin Byard could use it, just getting a little bit more.
But he just had one.
That's a good one. No, but
to learn the system.
Yes,
I got
exactly.
Yeah.
And just the secondary in general to kind of get a feel for how they're going to do this.
Yeah, not a rest thing. I was wrong. Yeah.
The talent level should be, the talent level shows they should be better than what they are. So maybe scheme-wise it'll help the defense too. It'll help everyone. It's a great topic, Pat, because the bye week is coming at a really good time for this team.
You know who has to be better? Me. I just got a text from my wife.
Oh, no.
I forgot to put out the trash.
Bob.
I hate when I do that. Forgot to put out the trash, so I need to be better. So here's how I'm going to be better, Pat. I'm going to give our listeners a chance to win.
97.5 The Fanatic. Win a free trip or 2 to Spring Training 2024.
You can't beat spring training. And we were just down in Clearwater Beach not too long ago. It is beautiful. So right now, the 15th caller, right now, to the Fanatic contest line at 215-263-0975 wins a $25 Rally House gift card and is entered to win a trip for 2 to Spring Training 2024. That's right. It's all sponsored by Rally House, your city, your house. PhillySportsTrips.com, travel with the pros, and us, 97.5 The Fanatic. Your next chances to win are at noon and 4, or you can enter for another chance to win at 97.5thefanatic.com. 15th caller right now, 215-263-0975. You ever been down to spring training?
Oh, dude, plenty of times. So my dad's originally from down there. He's from Pinellas Park, which is right outside of Clearwater Beach. And my aunt and uncle, so my dad's sister, rather, they live like a 2-minute walk from the Phillies spring training complex. So we used to go down there and visit them all the time when I was younger. And we'd stay at their place, and we just drive 2 minutes down the road.
Are they still there?
Yeah, they are.
Well, why don't we go say hi to them? I miss Aunt and Uncle Bill and Samantha.
Not even close.
Well,
We can. Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure they wouldn't mind you stopping by and saying hi. But yes, I've been many times, and it's awesome experience.
Pat, have you been down there?
I have, yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I went once. Yeah, it's fun. Look, I mean, the highlight of it is it's miserable weather here, and you get down there, and it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Yeah,
the baseball is kind of secondary. It's like, oh, this is cool because like baseball is coming in. It's more of an ushering in of good weather, I feel like, more than anything.
I'm in for a trip down to spring training.
You know what's the best part, though? Like the underrated part? People think about the games because that's what you watch on TV. The practice complex, you can walk like right up. Think about your local like Little League fields. That's kind of how it's set up. You can walk right up and watch the players actually practice and see them a foot away in the dugout through a chain link fence. It's so cool.
And there's nothing better than the pop of the mitt in February, right, Connor?
You're absolutely right.
All right. Sean in Levittown's been holding on, so I want to get to him. He's talking about the subject that we had earlier. What's your one word to describe this Eagles team? Sean, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing all right. How about you guys?
Good.
I would say satisfied would be the word I would use. And the reason I would say satisfied is, you bring up that point again before, but, I mean, obviously I would say everything, more than everything is positive for this season. I mean, if you're 8-1, then I don't know why you want to be positive about your football team. The one thing I would say, the one thing that does worry me, though, would be that secondary. And, there's the slants, for that guy Ferguson, and he really hurt us a lot, and Lamb as well. I think that would be one of my main concerns would be that. But other than that, I mean, I'm really positive as far as like
you're satisfied.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm satisfied. Yes.
Does satisfied come over as an overwhelmingly positive statement to any of you guys here? And do you think it's a positive one, Sean?
I think it is a positive one only because of because of what our record is. Like I said, we're 8-1. I don't have. Like I said, I don't really have main like big concerns. It's just the secondary that I worry about. That's it. Other than that, I mean, I'm satisfied.
Oh, no, I appreciate it, Sean. Thank you. And that it goes exactly. Why is this not hanging up?
You're good.
It goes exactly to what we're saying about this. Satisfied to me isn't an overwhelmingly good mood, positive thing. Satisfied is. I'm not trying to bring it down, but satisfied isn't. If I said to you, how was your dinner? It was satisfying.
Yeah, but
that's not glowing endorsement.
You have to understand where we are. Satisfying is not a glowing endorsement in Indianapolis. Satisfied is not a glowing endorsement in Houston or in, I guess, Kansas City in other years when the Chiefs weren't this good. In different parts of the country, satisfying is just, okay, cool. We're happy with our team. In Philadelphia, with the expectations we have with every sports season, satisfying is largely positive. To satisfy this fan base, you have to do something very, very right. And I think the Eagles have with their 8-1 record. So, yeah, the term itself isn't glowingly positive. But when you look at it with how critical this fan base can be, if you have satisfied Eagles fans, you know you've done a lot right.
Yeah, and I'll say I'm more than satisfied. Like, I'll take it a little higher. Above satisfied, I would say. I don't know what word I would use. Happy would be maybe too.
Yeah,
vanilla.
You haven't answered yet. Pick a word.
I think happy. I'm real. One word. Happy. I'm happy about this season so far. 8-1 is fantastic. The fact that you've gotten there the way you've gotten there, that's what we do. We dissect all that stuff, and you can find negatives, you can find a bunch of positives. You don't get to 8-1 without having a lot of positives on your football team, and they do, and this team does. And it leads me to my next question that I wanted to ask you guys. Jason Kelce was talking in the locker room after the win against Dallas the other day. Nick Sirianni spoke. Both on Sunday and yesterday. And a lot of what they brought up had to do with this. Through 9 games so far this season, they've said that they have to shore things up. What do you think are the areas the Eagles will improve upon moving forward? And what do you think they just don't have it to improve upon? So what's areas, I'll start with you, Connor. what areas in the Eagles that have played so far, and maybe it's been a good area at times, but not at other times, but what area do you think after this bye week will be consistently better with this club?
I think the Eagles are going to be much better after the bye week at producing turnovers. I think part of it is fluky. And half of this answer for me is just because they haven't created so many. And I think they've gotten into spots where they should have more. Like, I don't think they're not creating turnovers because the defense is playing poorly. I think the ball hasn't bounced their way in some instances at points early on in the season. And I think that's going to revert back to the mean.
Okay.
But also, I think once you get this secondary a little bit more comfortable playing with each other, Slay, hopefully Bradbury looks better than what he did against the Cowboys, and Kevin Byard's a ball hawk. Once you get those guys all on the same page, I think you're going to see an increase in the ability to turn other teams over in the second half. Like, I see a higher ceiling for that than where the Eagles are at currently.
Right. It's overriding, Pat, kind of with the players, with the coaches. We have to shore things up. We've heard it after most of the games, and that's fine. You could be 17-0 and say that you need to shore some things up. Are there some things on this Eagles roster or team that you just don't think can get shored up?
Nah, linebacker, I don't think is getting shored up. That's about it.
Okay.
I think everything else is like
secondary can get better.
Yeah, absolutely, they can get better.
It was funny, your question earlier about who needs to buy the most. I almost said secondary. Because I do think you make a great point with Byard getting an extra week to learn this offense. I think just having the 5 guys all together for 2 weeks to try to get on the same page of what you want to do. And let's face it, Bradbury and Slay might need a rest. They're 30-plus-year-old bodies. Maybe a week off will do them good. You're comfortable the secondary can improve, Pat?
Yeah, I mean, like name recognition alone, that secondary should be way better than they are. So I think they can improve, but my fear is that Sean Desai's defense is kind of like Jim Schwartz's defense. You know, you remember, I think I brought this up yesterday with Darius Slay. His first season under Jim Schwartz, he looked horrible. Did not look like Darius Slay. And he even brought up, like, it's hard to pick off the ball when my back's to the quarterback constantly. I worry that Sean Desai's defense is similar to that, where it's just not fitting the players. And if that's the case, then no, it's not going to be fixed. Like in Sean Desai, he'd have to fix his defense to cater to the talent instead of trying to hope that the talent caters to his defensive scheme.
Right. Yeah, so much.
And a lot of times, the guys won't do that. They won't change.
Yeah, so much to talk about on this off week for the Eagles as they go into the bye at 8-1. But yeah, there's topics of conversation, good or bad. It's all topics of conversation. We're here to do that. 610-632-0975. Don't forget 9:00. We're going to have Jim Curtin from the Union's going to call in, talk about their playoff run that they're on right now. And when we get back, Connor has an interesting outlook. Which we love to do here, looking at some of the games coming up for the Eagles, see where you stand on that. This is the John Kincade Show here at 97.5, The Fanatic.
Fanatic, Philadelphia.
We get it almost every night.
Connor's jamming here. 97.5 The Fanatic, John Kincade Show. We thank you for joining us on this beautiful Tuesday. Connor and I were just looking it up, going up to 67 today, Connor.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah.
And that's stolen Pat Valor. Don't say I'm jamming to this. This is a Pat song.
Yeah, I love this
It is
song.
a Pat song. I'm just saying you were jamming. I wasn't.
Yeah, but I
putting
like
Pat
this
down.
song because Pat played it before.
Yeah.
And I listened to it here, and I was like, oh, that's a good song.
It's hard not to jam to little Dance in the Moonlight by King Harvest.
Correct.
A little hard not to bop your
What
bop
year
your
do you
foot.
think that song came out?
1977.
Yeah, it had to be in the 70s, right?
Yeah. I'd
Yeah, I
assume
think it was
mine.
my prom.
No, we're not talking about the 1870s. We're talking about the
that's good, Connor. Real rich.
Got
there.
his ass.
Missed ya.
Dude,
Yeah.
he cooked you right
Yes,
there.
he did.
Oh, man, that studio must smell like burnt cooney.
Don't forget, 9 o'clock, Jim Curtin going to join the show. Talking about the Union up 1-0 against New England in the playoffs. Can close it out tomorrow night at Gillette Stadium. That hated stadium up there in Foxborough, Massachusetts.
Yes.
Dupe. Can't wait to see that playoff game, too. Let the success of the Philly teams carry on with Jim Curtin and the Union. That'll be a lot of fun. All right, we've been talking a lot of Eagles this morning because it's a great topic of conversation. Just the conversation's great because, satisfied. I said to Connor during the break, I thought that's a really good word that Sean gave us. Mine's happy. Yours is what, Connor?
Clutch.
Describing this Eagles season so far, having won 8 of 9 and all the talk that goes with it, we have clutch. My favorite one that a caller's given so far is satisfied. I'm happy. Pat, what about yours? One word to describe this Eagles season for you.
Content.
That's good, too.
Yeah, happy or content.
Satisfied and content are kind of
Yeah, they're the
cousins.
same. Yeah, happy. I'll take any of those. It's really tough for me to wake up and go, oh, damn, we're 8-1. I mean, especially when you look at, as I said a little bit earlier, the landscape of the NFL right now. There's a lot of good teams that, with fan bases that had high expectations, and you could argue they haven't lived up to it. And I'm talking like Bills, Miami, San Fran, Dallas, and the Eagles are better than all of them.
Cincinnati's coming around.
Yeah, a little bit.
Now
yeah.
that Joe Burrow's healthy. You're right, though. Now, could it be a case where those teams have hit their lows and the Eagles haven't yet?
That is a
it's an
possibility, yeah,
interesting
because,
question.
I mean, you've got a 5-week stretch coming up against all playoff teams. And if you want, you could say it's a 6-week stretch because the Giants were a playoff team last year. But we all know the Giants, that's an easy win at this point. So, you've got 5 games, and it was pretty cool when I looked at it and went, all right, if they lose all these games, at worst, they're going like 11-6. They've put themselves in a position where a playoff spot is all but locked up.
It's kind of amazing that the betting line was only 10.5 on wins this year for the Eagles. But I guess, how Vegas goes. They want to put something out there that's going to draw money on both sides. And talking about the games coming up, Connor wanted to dip into that, Connor. What do you think about these upcoming games that you want to talk about?
In what world? Here's Connor Thomas.
Yeah, no, I'm going to cut it down to 4, actually, because I don't think
4.
the Seahawks are in the same category as the other teams you're playing in between that game and the bye week. But the next 4 weeks, you go to Arrowhead to play the Chiefs Monday Night Football after the bye. The Bills come to town for a 425 matchup at the Link. The 49ers, also a 425 matchup at the Link. And then you have the Cowboys, Sunday Night Football, down there in Jerry World. Those are 4 tough games. They really are. I don't care how good any team is playing. If you look at that stretch of a schedule, that is daunting for even the best teams in football. What would be an acceptable outcome from those 4 games? So, again, it's Chiefs on the road, Bills, 49ers at home, and Cowboys on the road. So 2 home, 2 road games. What do they have to get out of that stretch with, record-wise, for you to feel comfortable with that stretch of the schedule?
Well, I'll go first, Pat. Comfort-wise, 2-2 takes you to 10-3 with a real good chance of finishing up the season with 13 or 14 wins, 12 at the least. I think that Kansas City game is going to be really tough. Andy Reid's also coming off a bye week.
Yeah.
that ain't good.
No, he's very good off a bye.
Yeah, and he'll have them very well prepared to probably attack that Eagles secondary. Buffalo at home, no matter how Buffalo might be hitting an uptick. Maybe they are going to be playing good football when they get in here then, but I like the Eagles on that game. I liked it from the beginning of the season. San Fran at home, yeah, I think there's a thing there. I think the Eagles are going to ride out. So I'll go 2-2 with the losses being away and the wins being home.
I love that.
I'll be okay with that.
Yeah, and I love you looking at it and bringing up the record where you would be. That would put you at 10-3. Like, that's a really good spot to be at that point in the season, especially considering making it through that stretch. Pat, are you good with 2-2?
Take exactly what Bob said and then just replay it. Because it was my thought exactly. It was 2-2. You win. I expect you to win the home games. If you lose the away games, that's away game. No big deal. My first thought when you brought this up and the topic and you started out, and I think you said Kansas City and then San Fran at home. I went, oh, okay. So now San Fran's excuse is going to be, well, we always have to go there.
Yeah,
that's the reason we lose. We always have to go there. It'll be a different story if they had to come here. Well, we're not going to have to go there because you're not going to clinch number 1 seed. So, whoops. Sorry about that. But they should be able to beat, a team traveling 3,000 miles across the country and that's going to be a fever pitch kind of game. I mean, the crowd's going to be like frothing at the mouth. And then you've got Buffalo coming in. They haven't looked like world beaters at all. Okay, on the road, as you said, Bob, Kansas City on the bye. Andy Reid, we all know his record post-bye week. It's really, really good. And then, like, Dallas, they can beat Dallas on the road, but if they lose, I'm not going to be, flipping tables and stuff. It's like, all right, well, you came out of it 2-2.
Okay, so I'm glad you guys had the same answer because I'm going to flip this on you real quick.
All right.
Let's say they lose both the home games and win both the away. Does it change the way you look at that stretch? Or is it 2-2 any way you can get there? Like, are these opponents enough in the same tier, the Chiefs, the Bills, the 49ers, the Cowboys, that you have your preference or your thought of how they're going to win? But if it flips on you, is it just 2-2 no matter what, or do you weight these games differently individually?
I think I'll go, Pat. I think fan reaction will be more downward if they lose 2 at home. Because then the talk comes, okay, you're going to get home field advantage in the playoffs, but they lost 2 games against good teams at home. You know what I mean? So, I think it would. I do think it would be a different 2-2. How about you, Pat?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, of course, there'd be concern levels, but look, I mean, if they go 2-2, and you've got the Giants twice, you got Arizona. At that point, you've probably locked up a playoff seed. You go 2-2, and you're battling for the number 1 seed. I'm not really going to care that you lost 2 games on the road because the NFC has to come through Philly. So at that point, all you have to do is win a game on a neutral site that's going to be overrun by Eagles fans. Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Okay, I got you.
I would find it thrilling if they could go to Kansas City off of a bye week and win there.
Yeah.
That would give me great confidence. And then you come home, what? Do you have a letdown and lose to Buffalo? That wouldn't sit well. But you'd say, okay, they did that. And then you come back with another home loss. I think home losses, I think the fan base would be, I don't want to say mortified. I think they'd be way more down than if they won both.
Well, I guess, but yeah, go ahead, Pat.
Well, yeah, I mean, they'd be down in the dumps, but I feel like the fan base is probably going to be like that post-loss anyway, whether it's home on the road.
Right.
If it's a home loss, you're probably going to be able to sit back on a Tuesday after that loss and go, yeah, but they lost to a good opponent. Like you lost to a Buffalo who was supposed to be one of the upper teams. Like, the only home loss we're talking about here is San Francisco, let's be real. Because they lose to Buffalo, I don't think it's like doom and gloom.
No.
But if they lose to San Francisco, it's like, oh, crap. Because you put yourself up against San Francisco in terms of the pecking order of the NFC. It was like the Eagles 1, San Francisco's 2. Well, if San Francisco is able to come in and beat you, even if you do get the number 1 seed, the talking point throughout the rest of the playoff run is going to be, yeah, but San Francisco already beat you at home.
Yeah, I think that's the most important game of this stretch. But you look at it, there's so many different factors. Any way that you can get to 2-2, whatever 2 games you win and whatever 2 games you lose, you're going to see something very positive from this team. Either you beat the Chiefs on the road, You played really well at home. You beat both NFC opponents, and you lost to both AFC opponents, so you feel good about the seeding. Like, if you get out of this 2-2, there's no bad way to get there.
Well, the two road games that you bring up in this whole thing, at Chiefs, at Cowboys, in the 4-game stretch that you're talking about, they very well could be the only two games that the Eagles aren't favored in this year.
Yeah.
And they may be favored
possible.
at Dallas. I don't think they're going to be – I don't know if the line's – no, it's not out yet. But I don't think they're going to be favored at Kansas City.
I think they will be.
Really?
Yeah, I think
Pat, what do you think that line might be?
Yeah, I don't think they're favored at Kansas City. I would go Kansas City -4.
I don't know. Kansas
3.5,
City
4.
just played that Dolphins team close. I know neutral site.
Yeah, that
you beat
Germany
31-17 and dominated. Like, I don't know. I think the Eagles are favored in this one.
I'll bet you $1 on that.
I mean, did they dominate, though? They jumped out to a 21-point lead. They gave up 14 points. They didn't score again.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
I wouldn't look at, like, they dominated.
With a team as quality as Miami, I'd say 31-17, and the way you shut down that offense was a dominant performance. But
wasn't the final 21-14?
That's what I'm saying.
31-17?
Yeah, I believe so. It was 31-17.
I thought it was 21-14.
I thought it was 21-14.
Was it? I must be misremembering. I'll double check.
That's okay.
Look, we've proven
Those
on this
things
show we don't know.
31-17 was the final score.
Oh.
I was looking at the halftime score.
Yeah, me too.
Bobby, we don't know football.
I know, obviously.
Connor, just take it for the rest of the hour and a half.
No,
Coming back here on the
I
Connor Thompson.
absolutely think that Kansas City's favored over the Eagles. Dallas may be, depending on what happens with the two teams going into that. But, yeah, I think 2-2 were okay. And Pat, you had...
Wait. Chiefs-Dolphins, 21-14.
Yeah.
Oh, I was saying 31-17 Eagles-Dolphins.
I'm confused.
Oh, yeah.
I was saying the Eagles
I don't
beat
know
the Dolphins.
what's going
The
on.
Eagles beat the Dolphins 31-17. The Chiefs played the Dolphins team you beat to a tighter game. That's why I think the Eagles are going to be favored.
All right, I'll bet you $1 on that the Eagles aren't favored.
Okay.
All right, $1 straight up. That's
All
where
right,
we'll go.
So just to be clear,
The
Eagles beat the Dolphins. The Chiefs beat the Dolphins.
Yes.
We
And
were
the
just
Eagles
looking.
will be underdogs up in Kansas City next Monday night.
We know football.
Yes,
we were
do.
all right.
Yeah. All right, so, Pat, here's another subject that you and I both brought up without knowing it for today's show. And you want to do the kind of how do you view it after Sunday's game against the Cowboys?
This is Pat's point of view. Here's Pat.
It's a good question, I think, for a Tuesday. Not necessarily a reactionary Monday.
Not for a Monday. You're exactly
a
right.
reactive Monday, but a Tuesday we're able to sit back and kind of just survey the landscape of things, and the emotions are kind of out of it. How do you look at Sunday's game? Do you look at it like, hey, it's a tough divisional win, 8-1, it's all that matters? Or do you look at it like, man, that's a win, but it feels like a loss? Now, I think if we would have polled the audience on
Sunday night
and Monday, I think it would be pretty close to, yeah, it's a win, but it feels like a loss. And it's because of the way the game ended. I mean, the game ending, it's like the Eagles were trying to give that game away with how many penalties they had and, just shooting themselves in the foot. And then you look at how close and how much of a game of inches it truly was. Whether it be the goal line stand, the guy's left foot was in the end zone, and but the ball was like 3 shades of grass away from scoring. Whether it be Dak stepping out of bounds, like it truly was a game of inches. So I think a lot of Eagles fans would look at it like, yeah, okay, it's a win and it's great, we're 8-1, but man, that just doesn't feel like it. But now, as I sit back on a Tuesday, it's like, nah, screw that. Like, it's 8-1. So I'm wondering, has the day changed from your initial thoughts, or have you stayed the same? Now, initially, I was, yeah, that's 8-1. It's a tough win. I thought they were going to win. They won. I'm good. But I think some other people might change.
It's so funny that you brought this up, because in my notes, after the game was done on Sunday night, here's what I wrote. Cowboys fans' feelings. Pissed that they lost. Happy with how they played. Eagles fan, and these are with question marks after them. Eagles fans' feelings. Not happy with how they played, but happy they won.
Yeah.
And then today I saw that and I put an X through it. Like, forget that now. You're exactly right, Pat. Those feelings go away. But yeah, it's an interesting topic, because I saw some stuff Cowboys fans saying, yeah, when the Eagles come to Dallas, we'll take care of them. You could see we were the better team. This is Cowboys fans talking. So it is funny. Cowboys fans pissed that they lost, happy with the way they played. Eagles fans glad that they won, but maybe not totally, here's the word, satisfied with how they played.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely the right way to look at it. And I think you should be happy that this team won. And here's the thing to how Dallas fans might be feeling, right, and the mentality with this. What did the Cowboys do in that game that they could have done significantly better? I'm trying to look at the way they played that game. I mean, CeeDee Lamb almost went for 200 yards receiving. Dak Prescott was outstanding. They didn't turn the ball over. The defense got after Jalen Hurts. They took care of A.J. Brown. They took him away compared to what he's been. Did the Dallas Cowboys play as good of a game as they're capable of playing against the Eagles?
I heard one person say that. They outplayed the Eagles. They didn't win the game.
Exactly. And the Eagles did not play their cleanest game. So could you say, I mean, the Eagles fumbled 3 times. They only ran 9 offensive plays in the last 10 minutes of that game. And the defense had huge penalties to put Dallas in a chance to win, and they still didn't. So I came out of that thinking that Dallas, even at their best, is clearly not as good of a team as the Eagles.
That's a great way of looking at it, too. Dallas, time of possession in the fourth quarter, Connor. 11 minutes, 18 seconds to the Eagles' 3:42.
Yeah.
Dallas had 14 first downs in the fourth quarter. The Eagles had 0.
That's a huge
And the
difference.
Eagles won the game.
Exactly. So
look, we're talking today about how you just look at things. That's the absolute positive way of looking at it.
Yeah.
Eagles did not play their best football. You just made the case that Dallas maybe did, and the Eagles still come out with the win.
You should feel great about that. And that's where I'm at mentally. And after the game, I was a little bit upset, but it was more like oh my goodness, like we just had a heart attack of a finish. I'm upset that they put us through that. But as it got further away and I did post game, it was like, okay, we're very glad they won that game.
Yeah, I asked yesterday, and I'll ask you this now, and Pat and John both gave their takes. What was the first words out of your mouth after the final, gun sounded or whistle blew for that game on Sunday?
They've all got to be difficult, don't they? That was the first thing.
Is it really?
They've all got to be difficult, don't they?
Yeah.
We can't just make it easy on ourselves. But that's a win's a win.
We got some thank gods.
Yeah.
I don't believe it. We were lucky. We had a lot of different stuff going on yesterday. Mine was kind of like, okay, good win. Move on. I'm the move on guy.
Always looking forward, Bob Cooney.
No, but it was just kind of. I don't know what it was. I think I kind of expected both ways. I was ready for them. This is like a defeatist mentality, and I'm just thinking it off the top of my head now. I guess I was kind of ready for them to lose that game as much as I was ready for them to win it. Does that make sense?
I get what you're saying, but I don't agree with it.
I don't agree with it either. I hate it.
Well,
I hate that
you don't agree with yourself.
And that's okay. I do that a lot. Sometimes I think of things that I don't agree with. You never have that?
Dr. Cooney and Mr.
You're
Hyde
not
over here.
self-reflecting.
I guess. I don't know. Normally, I'm pretty steadfast in how I feel. I'm not flip-flopping very often in my feelings about a game. And that's interesting to me that you were cool with either way.
I wasn't cool with it. I would have hated if they lost.
Right. No, I get it.
But
I'm starting to accept the fact that they could lose.
Which is horrible.
Oh, no, I was there. Yeah, I mean, I had the tweet of like, yeah, this game's over. Stop acting scared because it should have been over. But with the pass interference call, I was like, oh, crap. First of all, I mean, they fumbled the ball. You got DeAndre Swift running into A.J. Brown, fumbles the ball.
What was that?
Yeah. Horrible. And then, they have a great punt that forces the Cowboys to go 86 yards. And you bail them out the first play. First play, you give them
like a 35-yard pass interference. Yeah.
To put him in, in your own territory. And at that point, I was like, oh, my God, they're really going to do it. They're going to lose this game. And then, they didn't, and I went, never a doubt.
Never a doubt at all. Dante wants to talk about the rest of the schedule for this season real quick. Dante in the Northeast, you're on 97.5, The Fanatic.
Good morning, boys. How you doing?
Good, Dante. How you been, buddy?
Connor, what's up, brother? I haven't heard from you in a while.
What's good, man? Listen 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. You'll hear me a lot.
I got you, brother. I got to make sure I get there.
My guy.
So from the beginning of this 6-game stretch, I had the Eagles going 4-2, right? The 2 losses were going to be against Dallas and Buffalo here in Philly. It's going to be hard to defeat Dallas again. We already know that. It's already hard to just defeat a divisional opponent 2 times in a year. The game against Buffalo, this is the reason why I say we win. Coming off the bye, I think we go to Kansas City and beat Kansas City in Kansas City. But you have a short week to turn it around and go home, come back home to play against Buffalo where I believe Buffalo's going to need to win this game more than what the Eagles are going to win this game.
Good point. Yeah, I'm
going to let you guys go.
All right, thanks, Dante.
Thank you, boys.
Much appreciated, buddy. He makes a great point. Short week, coming back home, really tough opponent. And the biggest thing I thought Dante noted was Buffalo's going to really need that game.
We don't think about that enough. We get so centrically focused on how our teams view the matchup. There's truth to that. Like, we talk about getting up for games depending on the opponent, but there's desperation that's factored in for teams that need this compared to the Eagles being in a really good spot playoff-wise. Buffalo's on the outside looking in. They really need to string wins together, so great point by Dante.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. I was just looking up at the schedule for next week just to make sure of some things. Your 8:20 game next Sunday, which is supposed to be, your marquee game, Jets, Raiders.
Well,
yeah, that Aaron Rodgers.
So they had a chance of flexing out of that.
Did they really? Oh, wow.
Shefty tweeted about it last week. They had a chance of flexing out of that, and they decided not to. I'm with you. I don't really understand it. This national media fascination with the Raiders, or with the Jets is, and I've joked about it. Like, if you listen to overnights, every single teaser is like, "Are the Jets back? We'll talk about it tomorrow." I guess that's what it is, because nobody wants to watch the Raiders right now.
No, the Jets are a bad product. I watched some of that game last night.
Oh, me too. If you liked offense, that game was not for you.
No,
that game
horrible.
Was gross. Justin Herbert barely being able to. I don't think he reached 200 yards in the game. Zach Wilson is proven he certainly ain't it. Like, they're hoping on a limb and a prayer that they can get Aaron Rodgers back in miracle time to kind of save their season, but that's a gross game.
Yeah, it was absolutely gross, and it killed me fantasy football-wise, which I don't even want to talk about, but those things happen. What's coming up? 9 o'clock, Jim Curtin, coach of the Union. He will be joining us. And I've got something else out there, another spin on this whole schedule thing with the Eagles that I want to ask you about. It's kind of an in-depth question, something that I'm sure the two knuckleheads I'm working with today haven't thought about, so I want to see what they think about it. This is the John Kincade Show here at 97.5 The Fanatic. Get ready to start the NFL week off right, because right now all customers can get a no-sweat same-game parlay for Thursday night football. All you have to do is place a 3-leg same-game parlay on this week's game between the Carolina Panthers and the Chicago Bears, and you'll get bonus bets back if you don't win. NFL same-game parlays, they're the perfect way to combine your bets for a chance at an even bigger payday. All you have to do is visit FanDuel.com/Bob to build your own, or choose from one of the popular same-game parlays pre-built for you in FanDuel's top-rated sportsbook app. Visit FanDuel.com/Bob so you don't miss out on your chance to get a no-sweat same-game parlay on America's #1 sportsbook in partnership with Valley Forge. FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. 21 plus and present in Pennsylvania. Refund issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Max refund $5 unless otherwise specified. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Embiid goes off on Pat Egan. This sports update is brought to you by BQ Basements and Concrete. If your basement or crawl space smells musty or has watermarks on the block walls, you need to get the completely free home inspection from the experts. Call BQ Basements and Concrete, because the problem will only get worse. Sixers picked up their 5th straight win last night as they defeated the Wizards 146-128. Joel Embiid led all scorers with 48 points, 29 of which came in the third quarter. Up next is the Sixers' biggest rival, the Boston Celtics. That game will be at home tomorrow night. Each team has an identical 5-1 record, so it will be a battle for first place in the East. Flyers are back in action tonight as they take on the San Jose Sharks. Puck drop for that one is late. It's 10:30, but you can hear the game right here on 97.5 The Fanatic. Phillies extended a qualifying offer to Aaron Nola yesterday, meaning if he were to sign with another team, then the Phillies would receive a draft pick as compensation. If Nola were to accept the qualifying offer, he would sign a 1-year, $20 million deal with the Phils. While Nola was qualified, Phillies who were not extended were Craig Kimbrell, Michael Lorenzen, and Rhys Hoskins. Coming up at 9 o'clock, we're going to dupe with Union coach Jim Curtin before the team's big game against New England Revolution. I'm Pat Egan on the home of the Sixers, Flyers, and Union, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Phillies Sports Sports Tonight. Discussion on the big stories we've been talking about all day. Coming up tonight at 6 on 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-555-1509. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-555-1509. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-555-1509. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too. Call 800-555-1509. 800-555-1509 or biglou.com.
Hey, it's Ricky Bo, and I want to tell you, construction sites are notoriously dangerous. It's not just the frequency of accidents that happen, it's the severity of the injuries that result. Whether the accident is caused by poorly maintained equipment, ignored safety regulations, faulty materials, weak scaffolding, or exposed electrical hazards, the employer is often negligent and at fault. But they'll try and blame the employee in order to escape potential liability. That's why, as soon as you experience an accident, you need to call 1-800-JUSTICE and get a free consultation from the personal injury experts at Swartz Culleton. You may be eligible for more than just workers' compensation. If there's a third-party liability from property owners, equipment manufacturers, or other contractors on site, they'll find it. And they'll make sure you are properly reimbursed for recovery, rehabilitation, loss of income, plus non-financial aspects like pain, suffering, and emotional distress. Need to know more? Visit SwartzCulleton.com or call 1-800-JUSTICE. In this David versus Goliath battle, they're the ones carrying a big slingshot.
ABC tomorrow.
It's country music's biggest night.
The CMA Awards, live. With performances by Luke Bryan, Lainey Wilson, Jelly Roll, and K. Michelle. Old Dominion with Megan Maroney. Carly Pierce featuring Chris Stapleton. Tanya Tucker with Little Big Town. And more.
The best in country music!
Luke Bryan and Peyton Manning host.
The CMA Awards live.
Tomorrow, 8/7 Central on ABC. And stream next day on Hulu.
Can't sleep with this cold.
Honey.
Honey?
Honey, you need NyQuil Severe Honey.
NyQuil Severe Honey gives you powerful cold and flu symptom relief with a dreamy honey taste.
Feeling better, honey? Honey? I'll take that as a yes.
Try NyQuil Severe Honey for powerful cold and flu symptom relief. NyQuil Severe with honey flavor. The nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, fever. Honeylicious, best sleep with a cold. Medicine. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
At Grainger, we're for the ones who specialize in saving the day and for the ones who've mastered the art of keeping business moving. We offer industrial-grade supplies for every industry with same-day pickup and next-day delivery on most orders, all backed by real people ready to help. So you can get the right answers and products right when you need them. Call quickgrainger.com or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Wendy's new breakfast 2 for $3 Biggie Bundles let you create your own delicious combo. Choose from a sausage biscuit, egg and cheese biscuit, small seasoned potatoes, and a medium hot coffee. But it's obvious which combo's the best. Sausage biscuit and small seasoned potatoes. Well, maybe it's the fresh cracked egg and cheese biscuit with a medium hot coffee. Or 2 savory sausage biscuits. Whichever you pick, you can't go wrong. Choose wisely. Choose Wendy's new 2 for $3 Biggie Bundles.
Limited time only. U.S. price and participation may vary. Not valid in a combo. Single item at regular price.
Want to win tickets to a Sixers game? Join Pat Egan and 97.5 The Fanatic at Big Phil's Bar and Grill in Pottstown, presented by Corona. Friday, November 10th, starting at 7 p.m. before the Sixers take on Detroit. Win great prizes, including tickets to a game. It's 97.5 The Fanatic Sixers pregame party at Big Phil's Bar and Grill, 351 West Schuylkill Road in Pottstown. For details, go to the events page on 975thefanatic.com.
Live life, enjoy your family, watch the game. And when you need a car, let David Kelleher from David Auto find and deliver the car you want with the terms you're looking for. After all, he's always been your dealer. You just didn't know it yet. Visit drivedavid.com.
WPEN Burlington, Philadelphia, a Beasley Media Group station. Official home of the Sixers, Flyers, Union, and the best Eagles talk in Philadelphia. 97.5, The Fanatic. Now, back to the John Kincade Show on 97.5, The Fanatic, Philadelphia.
John Kincade Show here at 97.5, The Fanatic. Connor's jamming. Bob Cooney, Connor Thomas, Pat Egan. John's taking a day to recover, recharge the batteries. I told him to sleep in. I said I'd be pissed at him if he listened to a second of this show. He promised me he wouldn't. I don't know if that is for sleeping purposes or not, but he just promised he wouldn't listen to the show, so that's good. Rest up, John. He'll be back tomorrow. It is an empty feeling, isn't it, like this week with no Eagles game on the weekend?
I guess, but coming off of the Cowboys, like, it was good to have a game that you really, really needed and won in such dramatic fashion. Like, if this was the Washington game that led you into the bye week, yeah, I would say yes. But the fact that you're coming off a win against the Cowboys and there's so much to break down with the performance, too, I'm good with it. It gives you time.
And as Pat said earlier, this is the perfect bye week.
Yes.
Yeah, they need it now. I love that it's 9 weeks in, that you're getting it, all of those things. We got Joel holding on here from Blackwood who wants to talk a little Sixers. Joel, how you doing? You're on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Hey, how's it going? Glad to get into you.
How you doing, buddy?
I'm great. I just wanted to talk about that win. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. I was listening on the radio at the start of the third, and I had to drop everything I was doing and get it up to watch it, because I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I mean, Joel Embiid just back to back to back. I mean, it's genuinely exactly what I want to see. And not only him, but Maxey as well. It's looking up. It's looking real good.
Have you seen a lot of difference in this team, Joel, now that Nick Nurse has taken over? I know the 5-1 record, but I'm looking beyond that, wins and losses. Just watching this team play, do they seem a different team to you?
So, it's still really early, and he's only, really coached about however many games, but I think the facilitating is looking really good. Just some of the assists last night. I know Furkan had that crazy behind-the-back pass to set up Joel for the dunk, and I really think the vision on the court is just getting better, and we're really getting the ball around. People are getting the shots up. Maxey's really taking the shots he needs to take, and it's looking good.
They are. Thanks, Joe. I appreciate it. They are fun to watch this year so far, as we said. Yeah, Korkmaz, I don't know if you saw the play, was kind of falling out of bounds near under the basket, grabbed the pass one hand. It wasn't behind the back, but was like near falling down and just threw a bounce pass in the lane that Embiid picked up and slammed home. They're playing Korkmaz a little bit more than any of us thought. The fact they're playing him at all is more than we thought.
Yeah.
Every time he goes into the game, I just think one word in my head, showcase.
Yep, exactly.
You would think teams know what he is, but if he can show you a little something more, maybe it makes it better on the open market.
It never hurts to have your players look better and more attractive, especially when you're a team like the Sixers who are looking to make another big trade at some point this season. Like, you don't want to just rest on your laurels and hope that the guys that you got in the Harden trade are enough. And, yeah, I mean, I like that he's getting run just for the sake of he's in a tough spot personally. He's basically fought and clawed his way to get out of here, and he has to be in the Harden trade, and both sides told him no.
He's asked to be traded twice now, and they've said no.
I feel bad for the guy because I don't think he's not an NBA player. I just don't think he's an NBA starter on a top-level team. So
I don't know anywhere he's really going to go and get good minutes unless it's a bad team.
Exactly, but that's the point. Like, he could go somewhere and get run. I just don't want to see him in a bad spot, and I hope the more he plays, he could find his way out of here and get to a place where he can play more.
Yeah, before the game last night, Nick Nurse was asked about playing time of, Kelly Oubre being in the starting lineup.
Yeah.
And he said, look, he's been doing well there. Why would I take him out? Now, Oubre didn't score a lot last night. I think he had maybe like 5 or something like that after averaging 20 the first 4 or 5 games of the season. Oubre, he was asked about Korkmaz, all of those things. And then last night, you get Nick Batum coming off the bench. Nick Batum, older guy. I liked his game, 5, 6, 7 years ago. Versatile guy, very nice guy. And comes out and starts banging threes and gives you like 11 points in the first 15 minutes he's out there. Maybe another nice little piece that you can add to this team, or was just last night an anomaly?
Yeah, well, Pat's right when he talks about Boston and how that's the real test, because everything feels good when you're beating up against teams that you should be. But this is going to be a real test on Wednesday. It's nice. You're in the, if this was a Disney movie, if this was Remember the Titans, you're in the montage where they beat everybody. And Wednesday night is going to be the, okay, let's zone back in on the actual game. They're playing the Boston Celtics, who are on an unbelievable start to their season and a more talented team than you, the way the Sixers are currently comprised. So let's see how this feels when you play the top-level competition. I like what I've seen so far. It's fun that they're getting everyone involved, but last night felt like one of those, and they've had a couple of these this year. Oh, we can play Furkan Korkmaz because it's Washington. We can give Nick Batum some opportunity to shoot because it's the Wizards. Like, you can get away with stuff like that against lesser teams and see what you have, but make no mistake, tomorrow night, you're going to have a tough time if you get Furkan Korkmaz minutes against that Boston Celtics team or anything like that. You got to go with your best, and it'll be tough.
So it was interesting to me last night that Batum came off the bench so early. I hear you with getting guys runs, bad teams, whatever. But he was like one of their first subs to come off the bench. And look, Nick Nurse has to look at these guys.
Well, I think part of it, too, is he just sat for so long. Like, these guys are trying to be in a rhythm, and especially a guy like him that's going to shoot the ball for you at points. You want to try and get him as much run as you can, missing games for personal reasons, so that he can get in a rhythm before big games, and you can find out what you have.
Yeah. Finding out what he has is what Jim Curtin's been doing with the Union for a lot of years now. 1-0 lead on New England in these playoffs, and we got him right on the line right now. Jim, how's it going, buddy?
How you doing, Bob and Connor? Thanks for having me on.
Oh, thanks for being here. So, long layup for you guys. I can't imagine as a coach you love it, but you have to look for the positives out of it. What are they, Jim, and what don't you like about the long layoff?
Yeah, it's been a busy season. So this will be our 50th game this year. So you get a little rest and recovery. Guys with the little injuries, can recover and heal up. So that's the one positive. But I'm with you guys, man. When you're playing well and you get a big win in game one, you want to keep going and you want to play that next one quickly. But we had a long layoff, got to work a little on the training field, but I think we're ready to go for game two here.
Now, game two, going on the road, going up there to Gillette Stadium.
Yeah.
You're looking at a situation where you've already beaten a team once. And, what does that do for the confidence of your team having to go on the road, but knowing you've already taken down New England once in this situation?
Yeah, it gives our guys confidence because we just beat them pretty handily in our building. But we also recognize and respect when you go on the road in this league, it's a whole different animal. So I say it all the time, the hardest thing in any professional sport is to end a team season. And that's what we have the opportunity to do. So it's going to be tough. We're going to get their best punch. But look, our guys are built for these elimination type games. They have a lot of confidence at this stage of the year. And again, it's a good New England team, but one we respect but one we know we can beat. So we're looking forward to the challenge for sure.
Jim, I know you don't want to look ahead, but
yeah,
as a fan, I'll look ahead for you. If you were to win this game, you would end up facing FC Cincinnati and your former assistant coach. I believe, you can correct me if I'm wrong, you two are the only teams that have two attackers up front. You guys play a very similar style. How much, if any, do you think you'll have to change up the way that you game plan because you two are so familiar with each other?
Yeah, there's a lot of familiarity in the locker room from the coaching staff to the players. A lot of former Union players are there. It's kind of Philly Midwest in a way. But Pat Noonan and Chris Albright, a Philly guy, have done an amazing job building something there. They've been the best team in the regular season, but we know, it would be a challenge, but we'll go there and it'd be two teams, like you said, that know each other really well. But it's a matchup that if we can get past them, the way the Western Conference is shaking out now, we would actually host MLS Cup final if we do get to the final now. So that's a real incentive for our guys. Some things have started to fall into place that I'll just say as a coach you like to see, and the door is open for us now to make a good playoff run here in once the cold weather starts. I call it the real season.
Jim, you've made playoff runs, and this is, making the playoffs has become somewhat of a norm for you.
Yeah.
What is different, though, about this team to you compared to your other? And I'm not saying it's better, whatever, but the makeup of this team, how is it different than other teams you've taken to the playoffs?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, look, it's not dissimilar to, the Phillies or the Sixers or the Eagles now. Everybody, almost pencils us in for the playoffs, and the expectations rise. We've reached a point in our as a young club still, where the only acceptable thing or the only big thing to do is to lift the final trophy. I think it's in the same boat right now with the Phillies. It's similar with the Sixers. We kind of want to get through the regular season and get to this real season. So the expectations have really risen at the club, which is a really good thing. And it's something that we embrace. So we want to get back. We are battle tested. The guys know, the ins and outs of going in the road on the playoffs. When a game even goes to penalty kicks, the emotions that, you go through in those. We've had some real high highs in those moments, and you still learn from the losses in those moments too. So our guys have been through the wars together. Again, everybody's a little nicked up and banged up at this stage of the season. So, we like where our group is at, and we know we can beat anybody.
Jim, this is why you're the best, because you led me perfectly into what I wanted to ask you, bringing up the other teams in this city. We know what's happened recently around the Philadelphia sports scene with getting close but not quite getting there. Do you think about that and what it could mean if you guys deliver for this city that's come so close to tasting victory at a championship level?
Of course, yeah. That's on your mind every day. That's what you wake up in your program to do. I get a reminder every day when I drive in now, and I see that Union side on the side of Lincoln Financial Field, and it says, go Union. So we're kind of all in this together as teams. You see the Eagles, how well they're doing right now. I know they're going to make another big run and try and get back to the Super Bowl. We're in the same boat right now. We had the devastating heartbreak of that Phillies, series against Arizona. I was at some of those games, and it was tough, man, and you feel that. So, yeah, you wake up every day and you want to win a trophy, but you also have to realize there's 28 other teams in our league that are fighting for the same thing. So it is the hardest thing to do in pro sports. You learn from every run, and I think our group now is primed to make another run at this thing.
Jim, what is the biggest thing you've learned about maybe your team or yourself when it comes to coaching playoff soccer?
Yeah, Bob, look, the wins are easy, right? Everybody's happy. The stadium goes crazy, and you just get in this groove of positivity and winning. That's the easy part. But I still believe you learn the most about your group, and you learn about what it takes to take a next step in the losses, as hard as they are, as devastating as they are for yourself, for your teammates, for the city. You still learn and get better in those moments. And I think our group understands that. They've had a taste of getting literally as close as you can to that final hurdle and that final trophy. And that's what drives them to get back. And I know that they're going to make the city proud and make a real run here to get back and this time, change that good fortune and have it be in our stadium, which, in our last 60 games, I think we've been beat 3 times in that stadium. So we like our odds there.
Jim, you just mentioned how you got a lot of players that are itching to get back, but how do you as a coach, toe that fine line between a team that's pressing a little bit because they want to get back so much and, being, calm and cool under pressure?
Yeah, look, first and foremost, I love my players. They play best under pressure. We try to recreate that every day in training. And if your environment in practice is good enough, and I think ours is, our training sessions become harder than the games, and the games actually become the fun part. If you're doing your job the right way, I'd imagine this is the same in every pro sport in the city. When they train hard and have good weeks and put together, the consistency of pushing each other every day in training, the games become the fun part. So I think that these guys put pressure on themselves first and foremost, and then they go out and execute together in the games on the weekend and, make it fun for our fans. We're a fun group to get behind and watch. We have a lot of young kids from this Philly area on the group. We have some really good veterans. And like I said, that playoff intensity that they're used to, the elimination games that they're all now used to and have another year under the belt of that, I think is so valuable when you go into these playoff games.
Last thing here, Jim. You mentioned you went to some of the Phillies playoff games. It bothers me to watch World Series games played in the cold, like we do here in the Northeast, because you play baseball in the summer all the time. You guys usually play in good weather. Does it bother you that playoffs are affected by weather the way they are, especially for a team here in Pennsylvania?
Yeah, so it can be an advantage, Bob, and it can be a real disadvantage. As an example, if a team, like Orlando had to come on the road and play us, and I actually want it to be 15 degrees and nasty and cold, you know what I mean? Because they're used to 90 degrees and sunny. So it is truly a home field advantage for us in that regard. My guys, they'll roll up their sleeves whether it's cold, hot. It doesn't bother them. But I think it is hard for teams that are quote unquote warm weather teams to come here when the weather gets a little bit cold. But you're right. I do think it is strange. Everybody thinks baseball. You think summer, you think warm weather, and then, in the most important games, it's cold. And look, the cold affects how far the ball carries and big things that, don't happen during the regular season. So it is, it's unique, it's challenging, but it's our current system. And we're getting to the point as a league where we're playing basically 12 months out of the year anyway.
Yeah, right.
There's no breaks.
Yeah.
It's getting really busy, and it's a good thing. The league continues to grow.
Well, Jim, we wish you all the luck in the world tomorrow night going up to New England. Foxborough, take care of that team up there. Sweep this series, and then we'll move on from there, and we're right behind you all the way.
Thanks so much, guys. And like everybody, I hate Foxborough.
Attaboy. Thanks, Jim. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Jim.
Jim Curtin from the Union joining us on the Comcast Business Hotline. I do. It's one of my pet peeves. You play – what are you laughing about?
How much he hates Foxborough. I love it. He's just such a Philly
Get this
guy.
look on your face like it.
I love it.
But Jim is the best. Yeah. And he said he's probably drinking beers out at the Phillies game, watching them go. He's just a Philly sportsman through and through.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it just so happens to be coach of the Philadelphia Union. But I do. I can't stand when baseball World Series games are played and guys have on, gloves in the dugout and have on, like the knit hats over their faces and all.
I don't know, man.
It's played in the summertime. I don't like it.
Football's played in the fall and then it's decided in the winter. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, but
man.
Football, you expect cold weather a little bit.
You
Baseball,
do, but just kind of that's the mentality of it. It's a warrior sport compared to I don't know. You have to deal with weather.
Point. Yeah, I just don't like it. I'm sorry. I don't like it. But so the Union tomorrow night at New England. Check it out. If they win, they advance to FC Cincinnati and keep going from there. Okay. We've been talking a lot this morning about just all the different talking points of the Philadelphia Eagles, and I wanted to bring up one to you guys right now. They are 8-1. We've talked about the yeah buts and the one-word answers and all that. They are 8-1. They have not played, I think we all agree, however we want to define it, their best football. Do you think this part of the schedule had something to do with that? Because I started thinking the other day, okay, everybody, we kind of looked, I don't want to say we looked past the first 9 games or 8 games and then said, ooh, that Dallas, Kansas City, Buffalo, San Francisco, that stretch is really bad. And we've talked about it on the show endlessly. Do you think it was in the back of the minds of the players and coaches? I don't want to say coaches. Of the players also, like, all right, yeah, that part of the schedule is going to be really tough. And maybe it played into the sort of inconsistent football that we've seen so far.
No, but only because you have new coordinators on both sides of the ball. Like, I get what you're saying. Like, okay, we're focused on, we've got to really be ready when we get to that stretch of the schedule. So maybe we're conserving something. Maybe we're saving a play here and there and getting ready for that bigger stretch. But you have new coordinators. You're trying to learn something every single day, every single week about this team that is going to be important for you to figure out in order for you to have success. If this was Jonathan Gannon and Shane Steichen are back, I would believe that a lot more than with the current situation of Brian Johnson and Sean Desai, and so much to prove for this team with new coaches in big spots. That's the only reason I don't buy that.
You very well might be right. Maybe I'm reaching for something here, but it hit me yesterday, Pat, when I was, we were so into these 6 games, or 4 games, however many you want to put out there of tough games for the Eagles coming up. Do you think maybe that had anything to do with the first 8 games of the season being a little, for lack of a better word, inconsistent?
I don't. No, with two new coordinators, I don't think they have the cachet to go, okay, we're going to hold back some things. Now, there have been wrinkles that you've seen that have been new to the offense, and an example of that, and, I bashed them all morning, but I'll give him credit on this one. Brian Johnson dialing up a fake tush push and handing the ball off to DeAndre Swift last week was really nice. Like, that was a new wrinkle that they have to game plan for against Washington. A new wrinkle that other teams have to game plan for and have to think about. I like that, but I don't think when you're Sean Desai and you're Brian Johnson, you're not going in a week 1, 2, 3 going, okay, our really, really good stuff is saved for week 12, 13, 14. Now, you don't have that cachet.
Yeah, I guess the way I was thinking of it, and you guys thought it out better than I was wondering if, because we bring it up so much, not that we were conscious, I'm not sitting there in the middle of watching Eagles-Washington and saying, man, 3 more weeks, it's the Chiefs. I'm not doing that. I'm sure the players aren't doing that, obviously, in a game. But we have brought up endlessly since this season started, wait till week 10, 11, 12, 13, that's when it gets real. I just wonder if maybe somehow, some way, it crept into the minds of some of the players.
If it did, the way I would approach that as a player is we better win now. We better stack as many wins as we can in the early part of this schedule.
Good point. And maybe that's exactly what they've done.
Well, I think I don't know that they've approached it any different. I'm taking your side now in the earlier talk about giving teams your best shot and whether or not the Eagles are having a tougher time because of the perceived strength of this team after the Super Bowl appearance last year. I don't think this team approached any of the teams any different because the expectations are so high. But, yeah, that's just where I stand.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't, as much as we hear, got to shore things up, have to do this, and we have all these great topics of conversation, I can't really put my finger on why the Eagles have been so successful in winning games without playing their best, and I can't put my finger on why aren't they playing their best. And that's why I talk about all these talking points. There's various things on both sides of the ledger, positive and negative. I just don't know, and it's going to lead to a question I'm going to bring up later on. I don't want to say I don't know who this team is because they are winners, but is defining this team as easy as that right now, Connor?
I think I have a good answer for you. And it's
You've had good answers all morning. I've been proud of you.
Here and there. But it's more in depth. It's a two-part kind of look at this. And if you're going to ask about it later, I'll tease it right here. But I think it has to do with both the coaching and the situation where you're looking at the skill level of this team. And I don't think those two things are equal. That's what we have to remember about the way the Eagles are playing right now. The skill level of this team and the skill level of this coaching staff are not even. And you're trying to get to the point where they are.
They're not meshing.
No, not that. They're not even as far as the pedigree that they come with.
Okay.
The talent on this roster is much more proven than the level of coaching you have at the coordinator's positions. And that needs to come together. And I think that's what's creating this tough to evaluate thing about the Eagles.
Interesting take. Pat, do you look at it that way also, that the coordinators just aren't at a level where they need to be for this team to be performing as best it can?
I don't think the coordinators have been great. I think I've seen a little bit of growth from Sean Desai. Haven't seen really any growth from Brian Johnson. But it's hard for me to blame the players. I have to blame the coordinators because the players are primarily the same. The coordinators are the difference. You know, they changed 2 coordinators. Players-wise, okay, the linebacking core, you know, it changed a little bit, but the linebacking core was nothing to write home about anyway. The secondary, we talked about this a little earlier. You've got all-pro, and then Reed Blankenship. Like, that's not where. So, for me, it's got to be the most of the blame is got to be on the coordinators. It can't be on the players. It's got to be the new schemes that have been implemented. And how do you get the old team out of that? You know, like my big concern going into the season was Sean Desai coming in and going, you know what they did last year, that's cool. My system's better. And basically being Jim Schwartz, forcing his system on players that don't really fit into it. And same thing with Brian Johnson. And I think that's the issue is we saw these players, we saw this team do what they did last year. Why aren't you carbon copying what the old offensive coordinator and defense, what Shane Steichen and Jonathan Gannon, like just do that. You know, now Jonathan Gannon, I know everybody's going to get ruffled feathers about that, but you know, he had 70 sacks. Like that's nothing to write home about. But Sean Desai's biggest strength is his second half adjustments, I think, have been pretty good.
When we started the show and just said, look, there's great conversation to be had. We're not spewing negative. We're not being all positive. There's many, many things in between. And that's some of the stuff that we were hitting on this morning. I jotted down what somebody said on our YouTube page, and that was, 8-1 is great, but right now, this team isn't good enough to win the Super Bowl.
That's incorrect.
Okay. Interesting answer by you there.
They are good enough to win the Super Bowl.
Right now?
Yes.
Okay.
Who's better than them?
Well, I don't know. I haven't seen. All sports is a matchup thing. Does Kansas City match up better with them? Does Cincinnati match up better against the Eagles?
Yeah, but it is crazy to say this team isn't good enough to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Like they're 8-1.
I think it was right now. This team isn't.
They
good
are.
Enough to
If anybody's looking at this 8-1 football team and going, this team isn't good enough to win the Super Bowl, you're trying really hard to look for web toes on Margot Robbie. Like, I'm not saying, well, maybe not Margot Robbie because last season was Margot Robbie, but like this team's putting it on opponents in terms of like getting the W's, and that's where it counts. They beat Miami pretty decently. The game against Dallas shouldn't have been as close as it was. Like, they should have put 50 up on Washington. I know this is a bunch of shouldas, wouldas, couldas.
No, that's okay.
But, I look at that and I go, okay, if they can just clean up shooting themselves in the foot, they're really hammering teams like they did last year. If they don't, they're still getting the win. So I think if anyone out there is like, oh, this team isn't good enough to win the Super Bowl, I'm with Connor. Like, show me the team that is then.
Exactly.
The 7-2 Chiefs? Well, I'm looking at an 8-1 Eagles team.
Yeah. Someone wrote in, Mahomes, Burrow, Jackson, any of them would carve up this secondary.
Sure. And Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown would do it to them right back.
Yeah.
And guess what? You wouldn't do it enough to score because the secondary gives up yardage, but they don't give up many points.
They don't.
Go ahead,
This
Pat. Is the other thing you got to think about. The Eagles lead the league in time of possession. So you're right. Pat Mahomes and Joe Burrow and all, yeah, they probably would carve up the secondary and all that. Would they have the ball? Would they have the ball to do it? Because the Eagles
Not the balls.
The ball, like the football, that oblong-shaped item. Would they have I don't think they would. It was surprising to me when the Eagles ended up going 3-and-out the other night because they don't really do that very often. Even when they end up punting, it's usually after a couple of first downs here and there, and then it stalls out. But they've done such a good job this season, and this is a credit to Brian Johnson, where they've had these long sustained drives and kept the ball out of the opponent's hand. So yeah, Pat Mahomes, Joe Burrow. If you don't think Kansas City and Cincinnati are saying the same thing about Jalen Hurts right now, you're fooling yourself.
Yeah,
like A.J. Brown is on a tear like no other. He had a bad game on Sunday. He only had like 80 yards. That's insane to me. He only had one touchdown, 80 yards. That's a bad game.
Yeah. Those teams are like spiders. You might be scared of them, but they're more scared of you.
Oh, I'm terrified of those.
I
don't like spiders.
You could be scared of them. Just remember, they're more scared of you.
Well,
not some of them.
Let's put that out there then. Let's make that our final question to the audience today. Can this Eagles team right now, are they good enough to win the Super Bowl with the way they're playing right now? Because we're getting varying responses here on the YouTube page that I glanced at and some Twitter things. So 610-632-0975. Maybe it's a question that you think is a stupid one, but we threw it out there because it was brought up to us today. Are the Eagles right now good enough, the way they're playing, good enough to win the Super Bowl? 610-632-0975. This is the John Kincade Show here at 97.5, The Fanatic.
Guys, I want you to just picture this, all right? It is Friday night. The kids, they're at grandmom's house. Your wife, she's a little turned on because you just did the dishes. And she wants to head up to the bedroom, but now you have to make an excuse. Oh, honey, I got a headache. I'm not really feeling that well. And you're making an excuse because lately you just haven't been able to rise to that occasion, if you know what I'm saying. Well, guess what? You'll be running up to the bedroom after you head to BlueChew.com. Blue Chew is the savior for a dull, bored bedroom because it's the first chewable that has the same active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis, but it comes at a fraction of the cost. It's also one-stop shopping. You went to BlueChew.com, you're meeting with a licensed medical professional, and then it's shipped right to your door in a discreet package. You're not having to go to the doctor, sit in that waiting room, then you have to drive to the pharmacy, see if it's ready. No, none of that. It's one-stop shopping. It's all at BlueChew.com. But Blue Chew is not just a chewable that's for maybe couples that are struggling in that area. No, it's for anyone looking to take their game to the next level. We love sports in this city, right? If you don't think there's something that could, take some of these athletes to their game to the next level and they wouldn't take it, they absolutely would take it. So why aren't you doing the same thing when it comes to your game in the bedroom. But Blue Chew is so confident in their product that they have an unbeatable offer for Fanatic listeners, so listen up. You head to BlueChew.com, you fill that all out, and then at the checkout, they're going to ask you for a promo code. You just type the word Fanatic in there. Fanatic, that's it. And then they're going to send you your first month completely free. You're just paying $5 shipping. So look at it like you're paying $5 to get your confidence back, to get maybe your partner back. And now instead of getting, the pats on the back and, oh, it's okay. No. Now you're getting high fives. But it all starts at BlueChew.com. And don't forget, you got to enter the promo code Fanatic at checkout.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Sixers hammer the Wizards. I'm Pat Egan, and this sports update is brought to you by Dell Technologies. Black Friday is Dell's biggest sale of the year. Save on laptops like the XPS 13, engineered to do it all on the Intel Evo platform and more. Shop now at Dell.com/deals. Sixers picked up their 5th straight win last night as they defeated the Wizards 146-128. Joel Embiid led all scorers with 48 points, 29 of which came in the third quarter. Up next is the other really, really good team in the East. It's the Boston Celtics. That game will be at home tomorrow. Each team is an identical 5-1 record, so it will be a battle for first place in the East. Flyers are back in action tonight. They hit the ice in San Jose at 10:30 tonight. That game can be heard right here on 97.5 The Fanatic. Phillies extended a qualifying offer to Aaron Nola.
John Kincade Show here, 97.5, The Fanatic. Bob Cooney, Connor Thomas, Pat Egan getting it done for you today as John takes a well-deserved day off, recharges the batteries. And we've been giving a lot of questions out today about the Philadelphia Eagles. And again, not spewing negative, not going over the top positive, just all the things in between. Because at 8-1, that's great, no doubt about it. And there's so many positive talking points to that. A lot of people aren't totally satisfied with the way the Eagles have played, though, or there might be some meat left on the bone still. So I posed the question out there that was kind of stirred up on our YouTube page. And the question is, the way the Eagles are playing right now, can they win the Super Bowl? And we got some, Pat and Connor both said yes, no question about it. They're 8-1. They're the best team in the league. We've gotten, so there can't be any caveats to this. The question just is, the way they're playing now, can they win the Super Bowl? So caveats, I mean, Fred Wilson on our YouTube page says, nobody is beating this team straight up. No mistakes by either team. In a clean game, the Eagles don't lose.
What?
Okay, but you can't assume a clean game, and the Eagles haven't been playing a lot of clean games.
No.
They did against Dallas, so
well,
there is that.
They fumbled 3 times. They just happened to get lucky that they got them all back. Like, they haven't played a clean game for a little bit now.
Now, here's one from Josh Sass, who says, when you get to the playoffs, they don't care if you were 16 and if you have a 16-1 record. It doesn't matter. What matters is how you match up on offense and defense. Our run game is falling off a cliff, and the secondary is trash right now.
Okay, and to that I say we're heading into Week 10. It's not about we went through this with the baseball team, guys. We got to learn. We have to learn this lesson. They didn't win it all. I know they didn't win it all. Were they capable of it? Oh, my God, it's this chair that's making me say that. I apologize, Connor. We know they didn't win it all. It's not. I can't tell you the Eagles are 100% going to win the Super Bowl. What I can tell you is they are good enough to. It's not what they do every single week. It's what they demonstrate they're capable of on their best day. And then it depends who has the best day in the biggest spot.
Yeah, fair enough.
That's where they're at. They're capable of winning it all.
Okay. John in Mayfair has an answer for this question. John, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, how you guys doing, man?
Good morning, John.
Good morning. Go Birds. So the question is, can they win the Super Bowl, or are they equipped to win the Super Bowl?
Can they win the Super Bowl the way they are currently playing?
The way they're currently playing, yes, they can, because they're finding a way to win. It doesn't matter. Stats don't matter. The only stat that matters are W's. So if we're going off of that, yes, they find a way to win every game. They can beat any team in the NFL right now as we speak. It's not perfect, and the coordinators need to find some wrinkles and fix some things, but it's only midway through the season right now. We have to relax. We are capable of winning the Super Bowl, yes.
It's funny you say that, John. Like, when I listen to people talk, and I didn't have an answer for this question. I think you put it perfectly that they just find ways to win the game. So, therefore, I lean towards, yeah, they could win the Super Bowl right now. But you just said we have to relax. The team's 8-1. Are we uptight as a fan base?
Absolutely. We're always uptight with every team in the city, and rightfully so. Man, we spend a lot of hard money for these teams and merchandise and showing up to these games as fans and cheering them on. So rightfully so, we have the right to feel that way. But at the same time, it's midway through the season. We are 8-1 right now. We have nothing to worry about. The secondary is really bad at this moment, but come on. We got Howie, Willen, and Dillon all the time. We don't got to worry about that. We'll come back off the bye week. Roby will be back. We just got to relax a little bit. We're finding ways to win games, and that's all that matters right now.
All right, John, I appreciate it. Thanks for the call. So John's pretty confident, and yeah, they've beaten everybody so far pretty much, so why not just keep going and beat everybody?
Yeah, I'm right where John is. Like, that's exactly the mindset that I have. They've shown me that they're capable of being the best team in football to this point. Now, could that change? Absolutely. There's still a ways to go before you even get to the postseason. And that's why it's important to not overlook, due to the record, the struggles that parts of this team are having. But you'll need to do that and look at the struggles while also acknowledging that they're probably in the best spot of any team in the NFL right now. And that means you can absolutely win the Super Bowl the way you're playing.
Let me ask you this. And we talked about earlier how much of a great time this bye week came. and you can't project injuries. You don't know where your quarterback is, whatever. I loved the timing of the bye week when the schedule first came out. I love it being right around the middle of the season. I'm sure I'm not alone there. But as you guys pointed out earlier, with the Jalen Hurts knee, with Lane Johnson's ankle, with Goddard, although having a fractured forearm, having an off week to recover, with all the little nicks and stuff that they have going on, it seems like a great time for the bye week. All that being said, do you guys think this team is going to be considerably, noticeably, whatever word you want to put in there, better after this bye week? Because for some reason, I do.
Really?
I do. I don't think they've played their best football. I think they're going to shore some, I'm using the lines of Nick Sirianni and company. I think they're going to shore some things up during this all time. I think we're going to see even a better product after this bye week. And that's not being a homer or anything like that. I do think that some things are going to get shored up during this bye week.
I wouldn't be surprised. I'll say this. I don't think it's impossible. I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know how realistic it is to expect them to fix problems that quickly. Like, we've known some of these problems. The secondary and the amount of pass yardage they've allowed has been a problem literally since week 1, and Mac Jones carved you up for over 300 yards. Now, you won that game, and you've won 8 of your first 9. But these have been things on their radar for a while. I don't think it's an issue of just 1 week off of not playing a game to fix it. I hope I'm wrong. And I do think there will be improvement. I don't know that it'll be dramatic, though.
I don't think you can be dramatically better when you've won 8 of 9, can you?
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It sounds like you were setting up that they're going to be like.
I think we're going to see, how should I label it? Have we seen a clean game from the Eagles? Have we seen a complete game from the Eagles? I guess the closest we can go is that Miami game.
Yeah.
But I think we're going to see more complete games strung together in this after this bye than we have seen before the bye.
Yeah, that I can subscribe to. My issue, and this is why I believe they can win the Super Bowl. I don't think we're going to see them do anything we haven't seen them do this year. I think we're going to see them do all of it more consistently. Like, figure out how to produce those efforts at the same time in a stretch of games consistently. That's the key to being a great team. They've already demonstrated they're capable of doing everything they need to do. Now, can you do them at the same time, in the same game, and do it over the course of 2, 3, 4 weeks in a row? That's the next step.
That's interesting, Pat. Connor says they've already showed that they can do everything that needs to be done to be great, Super Bowl winners, whatever it is. Is there anything that they haven't done yet this year?
No, he's right.
Mind,
I mean, they have. They've shut down high-powered passing attacks, or at least kept them in check in Miami. They've been able to put up a lot of points. No, they just need to put it all together at the same time.
Now, it's funny. Right. We can't forget that Bradley Roby will probably be back after this bye week from his injury. Connor, you brought up today earlier about one of the best adjustments of the season was when they put him in the second half against the Rams. How Cooper Kupp kind of went away, and Puka Nacua
or Nakua or however you say it.
Puka Nacua, guys, come on.
I had it.
Football people are not.
No, not.
Apparently not.
No, you're right. A big part of that slot defense. Yeah. And, that's where teams have been absolutely carving up the Eagles lately. So maybe getting a Bradley Roby back takes care of some of that.
Yeah, I don't know about you guys, but number 39 on the field was not really doing it for me Sunday evening in Eli Ricks. He had a really rough game, and he does not have the track record that James Bradbury has. It says, okay, well, you believe in the name value still. I'd be very comfortable with somebody else besides Eli Ricks in those positions, and maybe that's Roby once he's ready to go. Like, that would feel good to me.
Yeah, and for now, it seems like it's plug and play in that secondary.
Right.
Because we bragged about, but we noted, and the Eagles noted also, that last week was the first time in consecutive weeks they've had the same starting safeties and 3 corners. And now when Roby comes back, it's going to all change again.
Right. That's the other thing. Like, there have been revolving doors at different positions, too, for these coordinators. While we talk about what the Eagles haven't done, we also need to acknowledge what they've fought through to accomplish what they have. They lost Lane Johnson for a week. I mean, they lost, like, Jalen Hurts has been playing on half a knee. People are in and out here and there. Cam Jurgens has been out for a minute. And on the defensive side of the ball, Slay missed a week. Reed Blankenship has missed 2. You didn't have Kevin Byard earlier. Nakobe Dean was on the injured reserve, and now he's back there probably. Like, there's so many guys that have been in and out that you've been able to win regardless of who you have. That speaks to this team's resiliency.
I got to say that I am a little bit concerned about the running game. And we talked about it a little bit earlier that I said, is it a fact that they're not giving the ball to Swift enough? Are they using guys at ill-timed? Oh, I want to ask you this, too. They start the second half the other night, talking about the running game, with Rashad Penny in the backfield. Started this. Why?
Because the whole reason I think he's on this team. Because it goes back to the DeAndre Swift thing. You have guys in this backfield that the knocks on them, Penny, Swift, and Gainwell. Gainwell's isn't injuries, but still, he hasn't been proven to be a guy that can carry a workload of a number 1 running back. DeAndre Swift, the same. Rashad Penny, the same. You almost need to use these guys like a pitching rotation in that you have your ace and you want to throw him as much as possible in DeAndre Swift, but you can't go out there and throw him every time. You're going to blow these guys out because their track record shows you they're going to have injury issues at some point. So I think Rashad Penny is a guy that you're going to see more of as the season goes along to try and mitigate the workload on these backs and make sure you deliver them all healthy to the postseason.
I hear you, and I just think there's different ways to do it. I don't want to start. I didn't defer the opening kickoff so that I could hand Rashad Penny the ball, a guy who hasn't played since game 1, hand him the ball twice to start out my second half when I'm trailing by 3.
How'd the drive end?
I don't remember.
Touchdown to Devontae Smith. Deep ball to the left sideline. They score 7, and they're taking the lead.
All right, Pat, my overreaction to this? Am I over? Oh, I am. Okay.
Yeah. I think now it's hindsight of 2020 because in the moment, I understand the reaction is what the hell's going on. But when it works, then it's tough to – it's like me with the Kenny Gainwell in the red zone. You know, it's complaining about why he's getting the ball when he had a touchdown. You know, this is that for you. Like, they handed the ball off to Rashad Penny. It ended up working out. It ends with a touchdown. They hand the ball off to Kenny Gainwell in the moment. I go, here we go again. Oh, okay, there's a touchdown. So it's very similar. If they had stalled that drive and they kept pounding the ball with Rashad Penny, I'd be with you. It was kind of confusing because that's the only 2 carries he did get.
Yeah, I just don't know. Why are you starting half with them? I don't know.
Their running back rotation is the worst I've seen since Deuce Staley was here. And Deuce wasn't good at it. Like, I know everyone has an affinity for Deuce. He sucked at the running back room. Like, he was a bad, that's all we ever heard about because it got questioned every week. And every week, whoever the coach was would say, Deuce handles the rotation. It was bad. And this is the worst I've seen since that. Like, there's no rhyme or reason of when guys are going in, why they're going in. We've barely, it makes zero sense. But Connor's right. It ended up with a touchdown. So that's why I think you're overreacting a bit.
Okay.
And they're 4th in the NFL in rushing yards right now. I know part of that is having a guy like Jalen Hurts that adds rushing at a position other people's can't in quarterback. But I understand what you guys are upset about with the running back rotation. It hasn't been perfect. There are some questionable things about it. The Penny thing's weird. The Gainwell touches in the red zone are weird. But at the end of the day, I'm more worried about the result than how it looks, than the optics. And the result is the running game has been good enough to be top 4 in the NFL. And they scored a touchdown on that drive. And what they've been doing has gotten them to 8-1. Now, they need to continue to be better and reevaluate and see if it's the proper way to handle it. But to this point, I'm not going to have major issues with things that you're winning with.
Yeah, okay. I just you make sense, and maybe it's that seat that brings out the logic. I don't know. I hear you with the saving Swift and watching his carries. He had 9 carries in the first half. They weren't running the ball well. Maybe you try something different to get your engine started and all that. You're right, Pat. It brought me back to Deuce Staley days. It brought me back to Boston Scott starting a second half against Dallas a couple of years ago when you had Miles Sanders running really well in the first half. To me, it was just head scratching, and I'm not. You guys can say I'm overreacting, but I'm going to have the reaction anyway. It just seemed very odd to me. Nitpicky now. You're right, Pat. Looking back on it and playing Monday morning quarterback. okay, maybe I'm overreacting. But at the time, I don't think I was. I just thought it odd on a team that was, why? Just why? It still doesn't feel right to me.
I get what you're saying, but if you look at it from the way I'm viewing it, and I don't know for a fact that this is how the Eagles are handling it, that they're trying to save the reps for DeAndre Swift and to a lesser extent Kenny Gainwell by using Rashad Penny more as the season goes along. But let's live in this world for a second. I'm going to knock on wood first so I'm not jinxing anything. If DeAndre Swift goes down, what happens to your running game?
Yeah, that's not a way I think. I can't. So what, taking him out for 2 plays in the...
I'm just saying, you cannot afford, outside of, Jalen Hurts and Lane Johnson, that might be the guy that you cannot afford to lose. There is no other option at running back to have a bona fide guy that can carry a workload, and that makes your team one-dimensional offensively if you lose him. So anything you can do to potentially save some tread on those tires for the part of the season where it actually matters, I have no issue with.
I don't either. It's just not the first 2 plays of the second half in a football game against your probably number 1 team that you're vying for the NFC for. I don't need a guy that's been scratched for the last 6 games to oh yeah, by the way, start the second half, we're going to give you the ball twice.
So you're more upset with the spot they used him than the fact that
honestly. So you guys know I'm big on the defer thing, and I think that it should be situational. I don't think it's automatic. You win the toss, you defer and take the ball in the second half. Pat made a great point earlier about time of possession. If I'm playing a Patrick Mahomes or if my defense isn't playing all that well, I want my offense on the field. If they stay on there for 7 minutes, that takes away a possession from another team maybe. I like that stuff. I don't defer to have, like I said earlier, Rashad Penny out there for my first 2 offensive plays.
I got you, and I can get behind that a lot more than just the question about why they're using him at all. But let me ask you, you think Bulls fans, when Steve Kerr made that shot that Michael Jordan passed up, do you think they're like, why'd you have Steve Kerr shoot that? Or do you think they were excited they won? That's the key.
Wow, that's comparing apples and oranges to
it absolutely is. Rashad Penny is the Steve Kerr of this. No,
yeah. Huh?
No, but the point is, it's results based. It might look silly in the moment. You might hate it while it's happening, but if you get results from it, does it matter as much?
What results did you get? That Swift sat for 2 plays?
That's the thing. You're looking at this as just in a vacuum.
Well, yeah, because to start a second half, you are in a vacuum. It's a 17-14 game. You're getting the ball to start the second half to get back the lead to impose your will. And you said, "Oh yeah, dude, a little bit overweight running back dude who hasn't played in 6 weeks.
Come on,
come on out here and let's hand you the ball twice." I mean, the guy hasn't handled the ball in a game in 6 weeks.
I got
you. And you're saying here
they ran 2 plays that worked. The drive ended in a touchdown, and you won the game. I understand if
I can still disagree with it. This is kind of a microcosm of the whole season, right?
Exactly.
It's working, so stop bitching about the little things. Well, I can't. That's the way I'm made up.
But keep bitching because the team's ceiling is so high that we need them to be great to achieve it.
You can't be on board with this. You're lying to yourself and you're lying to me.
I'm not.
If you're on board with Rashad Penny starting the second half.
I would never lie to you. I'm not saying I'm on board. I'm saying it worked out. I'm saying I can understand the mentality behind it. I don't have to agree
I don't understand the mentality behind it.
I don't have to agree with coaching decisions. I need there to be a justifiable motive behind them. I believe there could be one for that move. And until it starts costing the Eagles, I'm okay with it.
All right. I can't get over it that easy. Pat, he's being too logical. You can't start Rashad Penny there. Come on. Jump on my side, please. End this show on a good note, in my view.
No. No, you can do it because it worked. But, yeah, he's being a little...
It's not the end all be all.
I understand both sides of the argument. Because in the moment, it wasn't like I was clamoring for Rashad Penny. I just don't understand why they'd use the rotations the way they do. Why doesn't DeAndre Swift seem to get the majority of the carries? It seems like they don't really run the ball as much as they maybe should, and yet when they do run the ball, it's going to guys like Gainwell and Penny. And the results vary. But with DeAndre Swift, it seems like the majority of the time he's busting, 4 to 8 yards a clip. I don't get it. I understand your gripe with it, but ultimately, I'm going to side with Connor.
Thank you, Pat.
Because screw you, Bob.
Yeah, that's
Creepo.
right. Kick rocks.
Creepo. All right.
And the
if
show
you
that
say
way.
so,
Yep,
I don't know.
we do say that way.
I just have I need so oh good, here we go. Neil agrees with me. You're the rational one here. I have no idea how you aren't losing your mind talking to Connor on this. I am losing my mind, Neil, but don't worry
It's
about it.
been lost for a long time.
Yeah, that's for sure. All right, guys, listen, we appreciate you listening to the show today, filling in for John. He'll be back tomorrow. We hope you join us tomorrow here at 97.5 The Fanatic. Coming up next, you got the Tunis, you got Ray Dunn. They're going to be doing, I heard Ray working on the vault after they were looking up chocolate bars for something. What was that going on?
Oh, it's sex chocolate.
Oh,
yeah,
sex
so there's chocolate that you can eat. You snap off a piece for you, a piece for your partner. It's expensive though, but that's like $50 a clip. If you go to bluechew.com, you type in the promo code Fanatic.
How much is that?
You buy a Hershey bar. Well, it's free. They'll send you your first month free with the promo code Fanatic. You got to pay the $5 shipping. You head to Wawa, you buy a $2 Hershey bar. You just saved yourself, I don't know, $43. So that's what I personally would do. If you're looking to up your game in the bedroom, it's just go to bluechew.com and a promo code Fanatic at checkout.
There it is. Or just come see Pat, and he'll help you out. So thanks for joining us today. Hope you join us again tomorrow. Don't forget, you got Tunis and Ray Dunn coming up next. And after that, the best show ever. Need you to remember to support life-saving cancer research.